Chapter 283. Old Master Li hurried out of the room and thoughtfully closed the door behind him. Su Qianxi's blush quickly spread to her neck and the tips of her ears. She was so embarrassed that she almost wanted to find a hole to hide in. Ah! Su Qianxi turned her head and covered her face. Why did Grandpa come in? So embarrassing, so embarrassing. However, Su Qianxi was so embarrassed that she wanted to die, and the man in front of her chuckled. She was ashamed and annoyed, growling. What are you laughing at? Get out of my way. He did not let her. Pressing her against the wall with his thigh, he whispered, Grandpa asked us to continue and listen to the elders. Then he moved closer to her. Su Qianxi's eyes widened, and she subconsciously raised her hand, trying to push his face away. However, she completely forgot that she was still holding her underwear in her hand. She put her hand on his face. He looked down and then narrowed his eyes. Feeling the softness on his lips, he opened his mouth and gently bit it. His eyes were wild and dangerous. Su Qianxi felt like she was struck by lightning. Her first reaction was to think of how he bit her, and she couldn't help clamping her legs. Lecherous. Feeling that he was approaching her, Su Qianxi's head buzzed, her heart raced, and her breathing became rapid. But soon she tilted her head and pushed him away. She ran into the bathroom and slammed the door. Locking the bathroom door as fast as she could, Su Qianxi saw the little woman in the mirror blushing. It's really spring. Rippling. What the hell? Shouldn't they be in a cold war? Why did they almost kiss again? Su Qianxi was so embarrassed that she pinched herself and cursed. You are so useless. Ah, so embarrassing. He stood there, smiling more and more. Pinching the underwear she dropped when she ran away, he looked at the pajamas she put on the bed and raised an eyebrow. It seemed that he could bring her clothes. But just as he picked it up, he heard the bathroom door open. She walked over with a blush, grabbed the clothes from his hand, and ran away as fast as she could, as if she was afraid that he would eat her up. Li Xiqing curled his lips and reminded, underwear. Su Qianxi was so ashamed that she almost wanted to dig into the ground. She roared, no. Oh, it's okay if you don't wear it, I don't mind. She felt her legs were numb. Lowering her head, she decided to ignore him and went into the bathroom. Li Xiqing was in a great mood. After more than a week of depression, he finally had some relief. It seemed that letting Grandpa stay here for a while was the right decision. Next, it was time to prepare for another matter. With a sharp look in his eyes, he opened the door and entered the study. When she came out of the shower and found that he was not there, she relaxed. She put on her underwear and went to talk to her grandfather for a while before returning to her room and falling asleep comfortably. However, in the middle of the night, Su Qianxi was woken up, which was rare. She opened her eyes and found herself firmly imprisoned in his arms. She moved and found that he was breathing evenly, sleeping soundly. However, his hand was pressed on her chest, and she could clearly feel the warmth from his palm. Gritting her teeth, Su Qianxi lifted his hand, trying to move it away. But the next second, his hand fell again and rested on her butt. Su Qianxi shivered and blushed. Twisting uncomfortably, she pushed him away and whispered, Get out of my way. Don't hug me. However, he was asleep. So how could he hear what she said? She moved away unconsciously, not knowing if it was intentional or not. Wan Lily thought, Mr. Li, I did not expect you to be like this. Chapter 284. Su Qianxi straightened her back and involuntarily clamped her legs together. She moved forward reflexively, but accidentally bumped into a suspicious heat. Buzz. Her mind went blank. Her first reaction was to push him away and roll to the side, looking at Li Xiqing in surprise. This fellow was actually not even well behaved when he was sleeping. Was he having an erotic dream? Su Qianxi looked up at him and found that he had not woken up even after she pushed him like that. She quietly let out a sigh of relief and muttered with a look of disgust, He did not even wake up. He is sleeping too soundly. She consciously moved away from him, huddled on the edge of the king-sized bed, pulled the quilt, and closed her eyes again. Soon she fell asleep again. She did not notice that the man behind her had sneaked up on her again and raised his leg to clamp her. Su Qianxi dreamed that a big tiger was chasing her, which scared her and made her run away. However, The big tiger directly threw her down, pressed a pair of paws on her chest, and licked her mouth with its tongue. She wanted to resist, but she could not get rid of it. It seemed that she could not move. Feeling that the big tiger was taking advantage of her, she could only stare. However, the movements of the big tiger became more and more unscrupulous. Its mouth moved from her mouth all the way down. Su Qianxi felt itchy on her neck. She reached out and patted a fluffy head. The big tiger seemed to be angered by the slap. It opened its mouth and bit her neck. However, it did not hurt, but a kind of itch spread all over her body, making her shiver and couldn't help whispering. Su Qianxi woke up again. She covered her neck, which was a bit wet, as if she had really been bitten by a big tiger. Looking back, Li Xiqing was still sleeping in the same position as before. There was no change at all. Damn! Su Qianxi felt that she must be too tired to have such a strange dream. She turned over and closed her eyes to continue sleeping. In the dark, Li Xiqing curled his lips and held her in his arms. They slept until the next morning. When she woke up, he was already gone. Going to the bathroom, she saw a strawberry in the mirror, where she had been bitten by the tiger last night. Her eyes widened, she was dumbfounded. Did the nightmare come true? Was she really bitten by a tiger? But wasn't this a dream? Blinking, she suddenly came back to herself. Gritting her teeth, she cursed. Asshole. He actually took advantage of her while she was asleep. She squeezed the toothpaste and brushed hard. Then she covered the mark on her neck with concealer, before she changed her clothes, and went downstairs. Captain Li was sitting at the table, reading the newspaper and eating breakfast. Seeing Su Qianxi coming down, he teased, "You're awake?" Su Qianxi washed her hands and sat down. She took a sip of the milk that Nanny Rong had prepared. That kid went out early in the morning. Sigh. I really don't know why he earns so much money. Look at him. He looks like he didn't sleep well. How pitiful. Su Qianxi's mouth twitched. He deserved it. Instead of sleeping in the middle of the night, he did do bad things. However, he just told me to host a makeup wedding for you. Have you picked a date? Su Qianxi was a bit dazed. Makeup wedding? Yeah, that kid looks pretty happy. Why would a grown man like him want these vanity things? He used to hate this kind of extravagant occasion the most. Every time he attended, it was like asking for his life. Now he actually has to organize it himself. Wan Lily. Captain Li, does your grandson know you're so gossipy? Chapter 285. As he spoke, he did not forget to look at Su Qianxi. Seeing her slightly shocked face, he immediately added fuel to the fire. I don't know what's wrong with me. I thought it was your idea. It turned out not to be. Su Qianxi nodded. Su Qianxi shook her head and couldn't help smiling. It turned out that he still remembered. She had thought that he just mentioned it casually and would forget about it later. Unexpectedly, he remembered it for so long. Su Qianxi smiled wider and wider. Catching a glimpse of Grandpa's teasing eyes, she blushed and lowered her head. After finishing her breakfast quickly, she left for school. After a day of classes, Su Qianxi picked up her cell phone and found 2 missed calls. It was from Papa Song. Su Qianxi called back and forth, and it was soon answered. Song Yifun's voice came through. Su Qianxi, are you free tonight? Yes. Are you back in China? It was not the first time Song Yifun had called Su Qianxi, nor was it the first time he had heard Papa. However, every time he heard it, he couldn't help but feel happy. With a smile, Song Yifun said, Yes, I'm back today. Your Uncle Sheng is going to have hot pot at home, and he wants you to bring your husband. If you are free, you can come with us. Hearing that, Su Qianxi was a bit confused and said, I'm afraid that's not possible. Grandpa has been staying with us for a while, and we have to have dinner with him. I see. What a pity. Song Yifun's voice was full of pity. Your Uncle Sheng bought a lot of ingredients, but it seems that they are going to be wasted. Then why don't you come with Uncle Sheng to our house? It's cold now, and hot pot is perfect. I will ask Nanny Rong not to cook. Okay, I will call Ximing. They reached an agreement and quickly settled the matter. Captain Li had a good impression of Song Yifun and Sheng Ximing. Sitting in the living room, they had a good time talking. Li Xiqing had always been a man of few words. He would only say a few words at critical moments, and the rest of the time, he just listened quietly. Su Qianxi and Nanny Rome worked in the kitchen for more than half an hour before the ingredients were processed. The aroma of the soup spread far. "It's ready," Su Qianxi shouted, drooling at the aroma. Nanny Rome prepared bowls and chopsticks for everyone and quickly asked them to sit down. Under the old man's insistence, Nanny Rome reluctantly sat down. The ingredients went down one by one. Su Qianxi picked something for herself and ate happily. When she was almost done, a big hand picked up a piece of meat, dipped it in the sauce in front of her, and put it in her bowl. Su Qianxi was flattered. Looking up, she saw Li Xiqing's calm face. It was as if he wasn't the one who had just picked up the meat for her. Without any hesitation, he stuffed the meat into his mouth. However, when a certain someone saw that she had finished eating, he reached out and picked up another green vegetable for her. Then he picked up meatballs, seafood meat, and all sorts of other things for her. She had tried to eat as fast as she could, but still could not keep up with his speed. Seeing that her bowl was piled high, she said with a bitter face, "Don't take any more, I can't finish it." "It's okay." He put down the last piece of meat calmly. "I'll eat it if I can't finish it." Chapter 286. Hearing Grandpa's words, everyone couldn't help laughing. Li Xiqing also curled his lips and picked up a piece of vegetable with his chopsticks. Putting it in Grandpa's bowl, he said, "Here you go." Grandpa was speechless. Su Qianxi chuckled and reached into the pot to get something for Grandpa. Grandpa snorted and tilted his head. No sincerity. Song Yifan and Sheng Ximing laughed. The atmosphere was relaxed during the meal. Su Qianxi could not finish her food. Looking at the half-full bowl of food, a big hand reached over and took her bowl away. Holding the chopsticks, he began to eat slowly. His movements were elegant, but Su Qianxi blushed. That was what she had eaten before. How could this guy do that in front of so many people? The elders were also very sensible. They pretended not to see it and continued to chat happily. After the meal, Nanny Rome cleared the table and asked Su Qianxi, who was going to help, to cut the fruit. Su Qianxi sat down on the coffee table with the fruit platter and gave each of them a piece of fruit. Naturally, she sat down next to Li Xiqing. Song Yifan happily took it, looked at Li Xiqing and asked, "Have you decided on the venue?" "Ireland." Li Xiqing's eyes softened as he glanced at Su Qianxi. Ireland, a country that did not allow divorce. In this country, there was a beautiful rule for marriage, which was the most beautiful vow he had ever heard. Only death could separate us. Su Qianxi heard that and was a bit surprised. She asked, "Why? It's so far away." Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. With a smile, he simply said, "Beautiful." "Oh." Su Qianxi nodded. "But I want to go to Venice. It's even more beautiful there." "Ireland first, then Venice for our honeymoon." "Honeymoon? Didn't we already have our honeymoon? In the Maldives. That doesn't count." Li Xiqing slowly took a sip of tea and said, "Next time, the two of us will go together." Hearing that, Captain Li was not happy. He stared at Li Xiqing and said, "So you think your grandpa is the third wheel? Who was the one who worked so hard to coax his wife every time? To think that he had taken such a big risk. This time, it was also because of his help that they could reconcile so quickly." The old man's heart was bitter, and his face was full of anger. There's no justice in this world. It's not easy to feed a grandson. If you're not careful, you'll become an ingrate." Li Xiqing smiled. "Grandpa taught me well." The old man glared at him, turned his head, and decided to ignore him. "This is really infuriating, Grandpa." With a smile on her lips, she was overflowing with sweetness. What should she do? She felt so happy that she was about to fly. She had a cute grandfather, a father, and him, from the corner of his eye. Li Xiqing saw her lips curl up and her aura soften. It was rare for her to be approachable. Seeing their reaction, Sheng Ximing was no longer worried. Seeing Sheng Ximing looking at her, and Li Xiqing, Su Qianxi blushed. Forcing down the smile on her face, she picked up the fork and handed it to him. "Uncle Sheng, have some fruit." Sheng Ximing chuckled, took the fruit and took a bite. "Me too." His voice was cold, but Su Qianxi could hear the coquettishness in his voice. "One lily. Mr. Li, does your family know you're so coquettish on the inside?" Chapter 287. Su Qianxi pretended not to hear him, picked up the fork in front of her, and put a piece of apple in her mouth. After taking a bite, Su Qianxi felt a shadow leaning over. The fork in her hand shook, and the apple on it was bitten again. Su Qianxi blushed. Looking at Li Xiqing, who was chewing calmly, she said angrily, "Why didn't you take one for yourself?" He was trying to steal her food, biting the part she had just bitten. And this was in front of the elders. Even if he was shameless, she was. Su Qianxi saw the ambiguous looks from the elders and blushed even more. She lowered her head. Li Xiqing did not realize that at all and said matter-of-factly, "The one you took was sweeter." "Hey Song, the two of us are still single. We can't take it anymore." Sheng Ximing could not stand it anymore and stood up. Song Yifan was also in a good mood. Seeing Su Qianxi happy, he also felt very happy. Hearing Sheng Ximing's words, he also stood up and said, "Okay. I have something to deal with anyway. Let's go." Su Qianxi gave Li Xiqing a stare, stuffed the rest of the apple in her hand into his mouth, and stood up to see them off. After seeing Song Yifan and Sheng Ximing off, Captain Li said he was going for a walk. Su Qianxi hurried to follow him, and Li Xiqing did not want to be left behind. The three of them went out together. The environment around the villa was very nice. Although it was already autumn in Kingstown, it was in the south after all, and the surrounding environment had not changed much. The greenery around the villa was very good, with luxuriant branches and leaves. Captain Li sighed. "You really know how to enjoy life. I didn't even know you lived in such a nice place." Li Xiqing helped Grandpa up and said casually, "If Grandpa likes it, we have another one in the back, a little bigger than the one we live in now. Why would an old man like me live in such a big house? It's not like I have any great-grandchildren to take care of." Hearing this topic, Su Qianxi consciously did not continue the conversation. However, Li Xiqing was very happy to talk about it. He said, "I can do it anytime. It depends on her." Captain Li looked at Su Qianxi and sighed. "Qianqian." Su Qianxi suddenly shivered and coughed. "Grandpa." "Sigh, Grandpa is getting old. I don't have much time left." "Nonsense," she interrupted him. "You are in good health, and you will live a long life." In her previous lifetime, when she divorced Li Xiqing, Captain Li was also very healthy. If it were not for Tang Minjing, as if he hadn't heard what she said, Captain Li continued, "It would be great if I could see you give birth to a great-grandson for me. I could hug him and dote on him in my lifetime." Su Qianxi said weakly, "I'm still young. I haven't graduated from college yet." More importantly, she wasn't ready yet. Now everything she owned seemed to have been stolen by a thief. She did not feel safe at all. She was afraid that one day, when she woke up, she would find that this was just a dream. After waking up from the dream, without Li Xiqing, he became Mr. Li again. After waking up from her dream, she was still a murderer. Facing the outcome that she was most afraid of, holding Grandpa's arm, she slightly tightened her grip. Captain Li also realized that he was in too much of a hurry. He smiled and said, "No hurry. Let's talk about it when you are ready. Qianqian's happiness is the most important. Don't you think so, boy?" Chapter 288. Li Xiqing nodded and looked at his watch. "It's 9 o'clock. Let's go back." "Yeah, let's go back. I'm getting old, and I'm tired after walking for a while." On the way back, Captain Li and Li Xiqing talked about the wedding again, from the design of the venue to the chef at the time, no matter how big or small. Su Qianxi listened to them, like an outsider, and was dumbfounded. There were so many things that she really did not understand. It turned out that there were so many things to pay attention to and prepare for at the wedding. However, the main character of this wedding seemed to be herself. Back home, Su Qianxi found that she was not as resistant to contact with him as she was last night. Clearly aware of her change, Su Qianxi looked up at the sky helplessly. Women, they really changed faster than the weather. After the shower, she found Li Xiqing was still working in the study. She sighed and suddenly felt sorry for him. Li Xiqing's hard work was not something she could understand. Although Li Xiqing's starting point was higher than many people because of Captain Li's name, there were very few people in Kingstown, or even the whole country, who could grow a company to this level in just a few years. Su Qianxi remembered that 1 year in her previous lifetime, a magazine made an inventory of the fastest-growing companies in China, and Li's company ranked first. Not long after that, the list of the most valuable men in China, under the age of 30 was made, and Li Xiqing ranked first. Then it was the list of the most expensive men in China, and Li Xiqing was still first. Curling her lips, Su Qianxi felt a bit proud. Sitting on the bed with a pillow in her arms, Su Qianxi thought of what he said today about the wedding and the honeymoon. What should I do? Su Qianxi felt she was so happy that it was unreal. Lying on the bed with a pillow in her arms, she rolled over comfortably. All she could think of was how he looked when he ate her leftovers, and when he snatched fruit from her. Don't think about it, don't think about it. Covering her face with a pillow, Su Qianxi kicked her legs. Too easy to satisfy. Happiness will fly away. Seeing her covering her face and talking to herself, Li Xiqing couldn't help smiling. He quietly went over, put his big hand around her waist, leaned over and whispered, "It won't." Su Qianxi's body became stiff, and then she felt embarrassed. He couldn't have heard it, right? Boo-hoo. What should I do? The cancer of embarrassment is acting up. Covering her face with the pillow, she felt hot all over. Li Xiqing took her pillow away and said in amusement, "Do you want to suffocate yourself?" Su Qianxi felt too ashamed to see anyone, covering her face and turning around. Li Xiqing couldn't help smiling and said, "I'm going to take a shower." Take a bath, take a bath." Su Qianxi's heart was pounding, and she hid under the blanket. Why did he have to tell her? She would think a lot. She twisted in the quilt, closed her eyes, and forced herself to sleep. But why was she so excited? She was so excited that she couldn't sleep at all. Phew, I'm thirsty. She lifted the quilt, put on her shoes, and went downstairs to the kitchen. Drink water, drink water. After drinking 2 glasses of water, she felt thirsty. When she was drinking the 3rd glass, the phone in the living room rang. Dragging her slippers, she walked over and saw that the number was from the old house. Chapter 289. Picking up the phone, she heard Qin Shuhua's voice. "Mom," Su Qianxi called. Hearing it was her, Qin Shuhua asked, "Is Xiqing there?" "He is in the shower." "Oh, no wonder he did not pick up. Ask him to call me after he is done." "Yes, what's up?" "It's late." "Nothing. I'm hanging up." Qin Shuhua did not want to chat with Su Qianxi at all. The busy tone made Su Qianxi feel a bit disappointed. Walking upstairs, Su Qianxi's phone rang in the study. She walked in and saw Li Xiqing's phone screen flashing. It was Tang Minjing. Su Qianxi picked up the phone and did not say anything. Tang Minjing's sobbing voice came from the other end of the line. "Brother Xiqing, are you busy?" Then she seemed to be sobbing hard. "I'm in so much pain. The doctor said I'm having trouble with the baby. The baby is very uncomfortable. Can you come and see me?" Su Qianxi heard Tang Minjing's voice and tightened her grip on the phone. Had trouble with the baby? The baby was uncomfortable? Su Qianxi felt a bit uncomfortable. But surprisingly, she did not feel as uncomfortable as before. Walking out of the study, she said, "My husband is in the shower." Hearing Su Qianxi's voice, the crying stopped. Su Qianxi continued, "It's too late. We are going to bed. Is there anything else?" There was no sound from Tang Minjing's side, so she hung up the phone. Su Qianxi pouted and opened the door. Li Xiqing had just come out of the bathroom. There was only a white bath towel on him. His short curly hair was dripping water down his tanned skin. Su Qianxi blushed and looked away, deliberately not looking at him. No matter how many times she looked at his body, she could not help blushing. When he was about to speak, he glanced at the phone in her hand. Raising an eyebrow, he walked past her, closed the door and locked it. Then he came over and hugged her from behind. Su Qianxi felt the heat on her back and blushed even more. Twisting her shoulders, she said, "Dry your hair first. It's wet." Not only did he not move away, but he also burrowed his head into her neck. Glancing at the phone in her hand, he said, "Are you checking on me?" "Not at all." Su Qianxi felt a bit uncomfortable when he crawled over, so she pushed him away and said, "I just took a call." "Yes, and then?" she said. Before he could finish, the phone in his hand vibrated. It was a call from the old house. Mom seems to be looking for you. Taking the phone from Su Qianxi's hand, Li Xiqing turned it on speaker without hesitation. Qin Shuhua's voice immediately sounded. Hello, Xiqing? Yes. I have something to tell you. Is Qianxi here? He glanced at her. What is it that you need to tell her? It's nothing much. I'm just worried that she'll be unhappy. What is it? Tang Minjing went shopping with me today and was scared by a hooligan. Her baby is in danger. Can you come and see her? Su Qianxi panicked and looked at Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing's eyes were even colder, and his voice was a bit sarcastic. What does it have to do with me? You can't say that. After all, that child was very likely to be his. Chapter 290. Mom, I thought I had made it very clear. Her child has nothing to do with me. In the living room of the old house, Qin Shuhua put the phone on speaker. Tang Minjing was leaning on the sofa, looking at Qin Shuhua with pleading eyes, her slender hand covering her slightly bulging belly. Qin Shuhua knew that Tang Minjing could not say anything at this moment, so she said, But, Li Xiqing interrupted her. Is there anything else? If not, my wife and I are going to bed. Hearing this, Tang Minjing's tears fell down and she began to sob. Li Xiqing was silent on the other side of the phone. Su Qianxi heard it and widened her eyes. Tang Minjing is there too? Isn't it bad for the baby? Shouldn't you be lying down to nurture the fetus? Qin Shuhua was a bit embarrassed. She did not expect Su Qianxi to be there, and hear it so clearly. Glancing at Tang Minjing, she suddenly had an idea and said, I am visiting Minjing in the hospital. Li Xiqing glanced at the number on the screen and whispered, Mom, this is the landline at home. Qin Shuhua was speechless. Li Xiqing did not speak again and hung up. Su Qianxi couldn't help but laugh. How dare he expose her mother's lies so mercilessly? This guy was too much. However, seeing Qin Shuhua being embarrassed, Su Qianxi felt very happy. She deserved it. She was biased toward Tang Minjing. Sitting on the bed, she picked up the pillow and hugged it in her arms. Looking at the shirtless Li Xiqing, she asked, You said that Tang Minjing's child had nothing to do with you. But why did she say it was yours? Didn't you and her take any precautions? Hearing that, Li Xiqing's face suddenly darkened. Narrowing his eyes, he approached her dangerously. Seeing him like this, Su Qianxi's heart pounded. Subconsciously shrinking back, she held the pillow and said, Is it not? Why are you looking at me like this? Li Xiqing stepped forward, bent his knees, and leaned against the soft mattress. Covering her with his hands, he whispered, Do you think I did it with her? Su Qianxi's heart was pounding, and she subconsciously wanted to escape. However, Li Xiqing held her down and put his arm around her waist. She exclaimed, but soon there was an itch on her waist. His fingers quickly scratched her waist, and she couldn't help laughing, twisting and struggling. No, ha ha ha, it's ticklish. Don't scratch there. However, he didn't listen to her. Instead, he put his hand under her clothes. His rough hand brushed against her skin, causing her to throb. Su Qianxi was having a hard time laughing and begged, Don't scratch me. I will die of laughter. Li Xiqing really stopped and pressed himself on top of her. She then realized how intimate their posture was. Her face turned even redder, and she reached out to push him. Get up and put on some clothes. Aren't you cold? Not anymore. At this moment, he only wanted to strip. He pressed her down and gazed at her with his deep eyes. His voice was low and mellow. Did you know that women are the most difficult creatures to study in the world? Su Qianxi blinked and breathed faster. Chapter 291. Su Qianxi's heart was pounding. Looking at his deep eyes above her, they seemed to be sucking her in, so dark and so thick. He looked at her and slowly pressed down. Their hot breaths intertwined, and it was impossible to tell them apart. He said, So trust me. I trust you. Su Qianxi looked at him. Under her dark eyes, there was a bright light flashing, and she was happy. He smiled with satisfaction and whispered, I want a reward. What reward? Kiss me. Su Qianxi blinked, raised her head, and kissed him on the lips. He was a bit dissatisfied and arched an eyebrow. That's it. Su Qianxi's heart was beating faster. She looked up, put her hands around his neck, and sent her lips up. Their lips were touching, but they did not move for a long time. After about 10 seconds, she let go of him, blushing and panting. He was still dissatisfied inside. The first time, it was a kiss. Just now it was just a longer kiss. Do you think I am so easy to brush off? Su Qianxi felt wronged. She pouted and said, "Then what do you want? No this, no that. Isn't it the same?" Of course it's not the same. He took her hand down, raised it above her head, and whispered, "Let me teach you what the difference is." Noticing that his eyes were unusually hot, Su Qianxi's heart was fluttering. His eyes purposely looked elsewhere, but then his lips were attacked. He planted a kiss on her lips and said, "This is a kiss." Su Qianxi blushed and nodded. Li Xiqing smiled, and his eyes were slightly blurred. He took her lips and tasted them carefully. From the smooth and tender lips, his hot tongue swept over her lips. Su Qianxi only felt a shiver all over her body. Without any defense, he had already attacked her. His movements became wilder and wilder. Their mouths intertwined and saliva clashed. His large hand had already let go of her hand and was holding her waist. Su Qianxi's breathing became more and more rapid, and her body shamefully reacted. Noticing this, she blushed even more, but under his skillful and hot kiss, she could only surrender. His hot hands gradually moved down and under her dress. She couldn't help matching his movements. Her legs subconsciously wanted to climb on top of him, but she soon stopped. What was she doing? It was too shameful. She actually, Li Xiqing chuckled and pulled her roughly. His voice was low and presumptuous. With a deep smile and teasing tone he said, "Don't be shy. There will be many more times in the future." Oh, Su Qianxi was even more shy. "Many times is fine. Why did you say it out loud?" Covering her face and tilting her head, she noticed that her panties were pulled down. Twisting her body, she said, "Turn off the light." "No, I want to see you." Don't look at me. Turn off the light." He finally got up to turn off the light. However, as soon as he pressed the button, he immediately pounced on her like a wolf, pulled the nuisance of the bath towel, and penetrated her when she was unprepared. Su Qianxi's hands clutched the bedsheet. The feeling of being filled made her feel ashamed and satisfied. Chapter 292. The first class of the next day was at 10 a.m., and Su Qianxi did not get up until 8:30 a.m. When she woke up, Li Xiqing was already gone. After washing up, she went downstairs and found that there were a few guests. Seeing Su Qianxi coming downstairs, Qin Shuhua was a bit displeased. Checking the time, she said, "Why did you sleep until now? Fortunately, you are not at the old house. Otherwise, the neighbors would gossip about us. People might think that we have married a noble daughter-in-law." Su Qianxi was a bit unhappy, but she still put on a smile and greeted, "Mom." Qin Shuhua pouted, glanced at her, and said, "Xiqing went to work early in the morning. If you have nothing to do, you can go to his company for an internship. You are not young anymore. You can't always be idle." Su Qianxi said, "I am going to class." "Oh, I almost forgot that you are still in school. You are a junior this year, right?" Tang Minjing has already started to learn investment and started to help the family. Although I am not a businessman, I know that Xiqing is having a hard time. As his wife, you should help him. Su Qianxi felt sour in her heart. Not again, not again. What Qin Shuhua said was exactly the same as what she had said in her previous lifetime. Her mother-in-law did not like her, and Qin Shuhua liked Tang Minjing. Feeling bad, Su Qianxi retorted, "He can afford me. After graduation we will have children. Mom, you don't have to worry that I have nothing to do." When Qin Shuhua heard this, anger flashed across her face. She said angrily, "I just said a few words and you're talking back. You really haven't changed at all." Su Qianxi's eyes also became cold. She said, "Mom, you know very well whether I have changed or not. Now I am the daughter-in-law of the Li family. No matter how much you like Tang Minjing, Xiqing will not accept her." Of course, Qin Shuhua knew that. However, when she thought that the child in Tang Minjing's belly was very likely to be Li Xiqing's, she could not help feeling warm. Hearing Su Qianxi's words, Qin Shuhua snorted and said, "I think you have been spoiled by Xiqing. How dare you talk to me like this?" "Mom, I am just reminding you of the fact that Tang Minjing is pregnant now. She knows whether the child is Xiqing's or not. I believe in Xiqing. He will not do anything wrong to me. Qin Shuhua wanted to say something but was interrupted by a majestic voice. Shuhua, what are you doing here? Captain Li Sun walked down the stairs step by step with the help of a cane. His footsteps were not heavy, but Su Qianxi couldn't help straightening up because of the aura of a superior. Qin Shuhua swallowed her words and said, Dad, I'm here to take you back. You are not well, and Xiqing is busy with work. I'm afraid. Li Su. Li Sun had always looked down on Qin Shuhua. When she was young, this woman had been raised in a boudoir. She was inexperienced and spoiled. Although she had been married to Li Xiao for many years, her personality had not changed much. Chapter 293. Embarrassed, Qin Shuhua quickly argued, Dad, I didn't. Captain Li ignored her and looked at Su Qianxi. His eyes had softened a lot and he said, Why haven't you left yet? You're going to be late. Su Qianxi glanced at her phone. It was already 9 p.m. She stuck out her tongue and said, Grandpa, I'm leaving now. Bye, Mom, Grandpa and Nanny Rong. Nanny Rong had been standing on the side. Hearing her, she said, Come back soon. Got it. She quickly disappeared at the door. Leaning on his cane, Captain Li sat down on the sofa and picked up the TV remote control. He turned on the TV and began to watch it on his own. Qin Shuhua was even more embarrassed. She sat down on the sofa and called out, Dad, Li Xiao said that if I don't invite you back today, he will blame himself. That's none of his business. He didn't make me leave, Captain Li said without looking back. Nanny Rong heard it and felt a bit strange. Didn't she say that Li Xiao made her leave? Why not? Looking at Qin Shuhua's expression, it was very likely that she had made him leave. However, how could Qin Shuhua make Captain Li angry? It was hard to believe. Nanny Rong moved closer and pricked up her ears to listen to their conversation. Qin Shuhua looked guilty and apologetic. Dad, I'm sorry. It's my fault. No sincerity at all. Li Sun didn't even spare her a glance. He just watched the television and laughed. Qin Shuhua's heart was pounding, but she cursed inwardly. It was all this old man's fault. She had been blamed by Li Xiao for 2 days, and finally had to come to invite him back. This old man was so arrogant. However, Qin Shuhua did not dare to show the slightest difference on her face. She said, Dad, this time I came to discuss with you. You still won't give up. Li Sun slammed the TV remote control on the coffee table and roared. I said it's impossible. Qianqian is my granddaughter-in-law. That Tang guy thinks he can marry me just because he's pregnant? In his dreams. Hearing that, Nanny Rong immediately knew the purpose of Qin Shuhua's visit. He had asked the old man to take a personal leave to protect Tang Minjing. Nanny Rong was a little reluctant. She had been impatient with Qin Shuhua for a long time. Being yelled at by Captain Li, Qin Shuhua was a bit anxious. But she is pregnant with Xiqing's child. If word gets out. TSK, I know better than you what kind of child I raised myself as like. I knew you wouldn't believe me. Yesterday afternoon, I took Li Zhao's hair and took it to Tang Minjing's baby for a paternity test. I got it today. Qin Shuhua took out a yellow envelope from her bag, looking aggrieved. Old Master Li was skeptical, but he took the report from Su Qingsang. Old Master Li's eyes widened when he saw the blood relationship. He thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. He blinked, and when he looked again, it was really the same number. The name of the appraiser was Li Xiao, and the appraisal institution was the Kingstown First Military Hospital. I know my own son. He likes Su Qianxi, so he wants to keep her. Poor Minjing. Chapter 294. Startled, Nanny Rong hurried over and yelled, Grandpa! Qin Shuhua was scared. Pushed away by Nanny Rong's hand, she stepped back. The look on Nanny Rong's face changed, but her movements were smooth and calm. She laid the old man down and saw Qin Shuhua's frightened face. She yelled, What are you waiting for? Call an ambulance. Oh, okay. Qin Shuhua quickly got up and picked up her phone to make the call. Anxious, Nanny Rong yelled in a choked voice. There's medicine upstairs. Go get it. Qin Shuhua was on the phone when she heard Nanny Rong's yell. Without thinking, she stumbled up the stairs and asked, "Which room?" "The first room on the left." Hearing Nanny Rong's yell, Qin Shuhua opened the door of the second bedroom and walked in. However, after rummaging through the room, she still could not find it. "Did you find it?" "It's in the drawer," Nanny Rong yelled as she gave captainly first aid. The call was finally connected. Qin Shuhua said the address while rummaging through the drawer. However, after rummaging through the first drawer, she still could not find the medicine Nanny Rong mentioned. However, the second drawer could not be opened. In for a penny, in for a pound. Qin Shuhua picked up the huge glass ornament on the bedside table and smashed it into the second drawer. The glass ornament was broken, and the drawer made a muffled sound. The lock was broken. Qin Shuhua opened the drawer and did not see any medicine. Instead, she saw a translucent file bag with two eye-catching words on it. Divorce contract. Halfway through the class, Su Qianxi heard that Grandpa was in the hospital. Under the gaze of all the students, Su Qianxi left halfway and hurried to the hospital. Captain Li was still asleep, and Qin Shuhua was crying in fear. Seeing her, Li Xiqing immediately went to her. Su Qianxi was out of breath. She grabbed his sleeve and asked, "What's wrong? How is Grandpa?" "Sudden myocardial infarction." Hearing that, Su Qianxi almost cried. With her eyes red, she yelled, "How could it be? Grandpa is so healthy. How could he suddenly have a myocardial infarction?" Li Xiqing grabbed her and stared at her, saying, "Calm down. Grandpa will be fine. Don't think too much." She burst into tears. "It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. He would be fine." His grandfather had lived for a very long time in his previous life. He would definitely be fine. However, although she comforted herself like this, she still couldn't hold back her tears. She couldn't stop the fear in her heart. What should she do? She was scared. There were too many variables in this life. In her previous lifetime, she had been protected by her grandfather, and Li Xiqing hated her very much. Was God going to take Grandpa away from her because Li Xiqing liked her? No. What to do, what to do? Su Qianxi still could not help crying. Li Xiqing held her in his arms and suppressed his fear. He whispered, "Don't be afraid. I'm here. Grandpa will be fine. He will live a long life. Don't scare yourself." Qin Shuhua was still holding the folder that she had just taken out of the drawer. Seeing the scene of husband and wife embracing each other, he suddenly felt that it was very ironic. Chapter 295. Sir. Nanny Rong came in from outside, looking hesitant. Eventually, she took out the thing in her hand and said, "Master is like this because he saw this. Take a look." Seeing Nanny Rong's expression, Li Xiqing knew it was not something good. However, when he saw the words on it, he still looked gloomy. Su Qianxi looked over and immediately saw Li Zhao's name. Grandfather-grandchild identification. Su Qianxi took a closer look and read each line carefully. Her heart sank. Pinching her arms, she looked up at Li Xiqing. Su Qianxi looked at him incredulously. Taking a step back, she looked at the report and felt her heart wrenching. Li Xiqing's face was still gloomy. Seeing Su Qianxi's expression change, his jaw tightened. Turning his head, he stared at Qin Shuhua. "Did you bring this?" Qin Shuhua was shocked by her son's stare, but she quickly reacted and said angrily, "What kind of attitude is that? Is this how you talk to your mother?" "Am I?" Li Xiqing stared at her and tightened his grip on the report. His fingers were itching to tear the pieces of paper to shreds and stuff them into Qin Shuhua's mouth. Qin Shuhua was a bit scared and said, "I took your father's hair to Tang Minjing for the identification yesterday. She gave it to me early this morning. It clearly says that the baby in Tang Minjing's belly is your father's grandson." Su Qianxi looked at Li Xiqing and Qin Shuhua and suddenly felt weak in the knees. Grandpa was still in the emergency room, and the relationship between Tang Minjing and Li Xiqing was undeniable. One after another, large rocks came crashing down on her, as if they were going to take her life. So hard and so heavy. Squatting down, Su Qianxi's body was shaking. Seeing that Su Qianxi was not right, Nanny Rong immediately went over and helped her up. "Ma'am?" Li Xiqing was shocked and quickly came over. However, before he touched Su Qianxi, she dodged. "Don't touch me!" Su Qianxi yelled hysterically. Her eyes were red, and tears were streaming down her cheeks. He still wanted to move forward, but she felt disgusted. Kicking him in the chest, she struggled and screamed, "Don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me! Don't touch me! Don't touch me! So dirty, so dirty!" Su Qianxi's voice became more and more choked, and she burst into tears in Nanny Rong's arms. Seeing her like this, Nanny Rong also felt bad. Her eyes turned red and tears fell. She glared at Li Xiqing and scolded, "You did this!" Li Xiqing pursed his lips and said, "Trust me." How could he believe it? How could he? The evidence was irrefutable, and it was right in front of them. How could they believe it? Even though Nanny Rong had raised him, she did not believe it. "It's not me." Holding the report, Li Xiqing squatted down. "It's not me." Holding Nanny Rong, Su Qianxi sobbed and did not want to look back at him. The door of the emergency room was finally opened. Su Qianxi immediately got up and ran to the doctor. "How is it?" The doctor dodged and said, "Fortunately, the first aid was done in time. The critical period is over. You have to be careful. The patient cannot be agitated again. You have to stabilize her emotions." Chapter 296. Nanny Rong exclaimed, and Qin Shuhua was startled as well. Li Xiqing reacted the fastest. He rushed up and bent over to catch her. The sound of his knee hitting the ground was shocking. However, he did not seem to notice the pain in his knee at all. At the same time, he found that she was covered in cold sweat. His heart ached terribly, and he could not help panicking, shouting, "Doctor, doctor!" The fetus was actually less than 4 months old. Seeing the baby grow up day by day, Tang Minjing's heart became more and more unsettled. "Do you really think it's Li Xiqing's child?" Rong Rui's voice was like a nightmare, haunting her day and night. At the beginning, she was calm, but now she was awakened by nightmares every night. In front of her, she had written half of her mother's diary. Every day, she would write down her feelings in it. However, if it was not Li Xiqing's child, what was the point of writing it down? After thinking about it, Tang Minjing decided to go to Qin Shuhua. No matter how difficult the old man was, she would not abandon her. After all, she owed her. When she found Qin Shuhua, Li Xiao was not at home. Qin Shuhua and Lu Sa were arranging flowers. After sending Lu Sa away, Tang Minjing went straight to the point. "Auntie, is it still not done?" The smile on Qin Shuhua's face froze. "Minjing, you know that Captain Li loves Su Qianxi. You were in so much trouble at the party. It's not that I don't want to help you, but Captain Li and Xiqing's father both scolded me. Now Captain Li is so angry that he went to live with Xiqing. If something happens at this time, how can I live in this house?" Qin Shuhua's smile froze. Tang Minjing was reluctant. "But I'm pregnant with your grandson." "Hey Minjing, listen to me. You'd better not have this child. Once it's born, it's destined to have no father. You know how stubborn Xiqing is. Once he sets his mind on something, no one can touch it." "No way." Tang Minjing gritted her teeth. "Auntie, are you against me now? You know how I treat you. What happened to my brother?" Before she could finish speaking, Qin Shuhua's hand, which was in the middle of cutting flowers, trembled. Her face had already turned white. She roared, "Enough!" Tang Minjing knew that she had hit Qin Shuhua's soft spot. Gritting her teeth, she continued, "Auntie, I saw it clearly. Enough." Qin Shuhua's face had turned green. "You're threatening me." "No, I'm just reminding you, Auntie. After all, I'm really carrying Brother Xiqing's child. You just want the child of the Li family to return to the family. You're doing a good deed, aren't you?" Li Xiqing said. Qin Shuhua wavered. Tang Minjing was pleased and continued, "Su Qianxi's mother must have done something to Captain Li. Otherwise, how could she have married Brother Xiqing?" Qin Shuhua did not like Su Qianxi as a daughter-in-law. Glancing at Tang Minjing, she asked, "Is it really Xiqing's child?" "A lie detector, Auntie. That's a military thing. How could it be wrong?" However, when Tang Minjing said this, her heart was also pounding. Chapter 297. The more she thought about it, the more guilty she felt. That night, she had assumed that the man was Li Xiqing. But in fact, she did not even see his face clearly before she was pushed onto the bed. Was it really not Li Xiqing? He said that he had deleted the video, which proved that he had seen it. So what was the truth? Tang Minjing was a bit uncertain. Looking at Qin Shuhua, she gritted her teeth and said, "If you really doubt it, then let's do the test." "Sure, I will ask Xiqing too." "No, don't let brother Xiqing know." Li Xiqing was so smart that he would definitely ruin her plan. "We will do the test ourselves." The fetus was only 11 weeks old, and the doctor did not recommend amniocentesis. After warning Tang Minjing about the danger, she still insisted. She could not wait. If it was, she would be more careful in the future. But if it was not, Tang Minjing did not dare to think about it, and insisted on lying on the bed. When the needle pierced her belly, the only thought in her mind was, "Baby, you must do well." Qin Shuhua rushed the test result, and after she left, Tang Minjing came back again and rushed it to 6 hours. 6 hours later, Tang Minjing came as scheduled, and Mrs. Tang came at the same time. Holding Mrs. Tang's hand, Tang Minjing's stomach was a bit uncomfortable. She was nervous and looking forward to the result. However, when Mrs. Tang got the result, she was completely stunned. Seeing her reaction, Tang Minjing's heart was pounding, and she was very nervous. Taking the result with trembling hands, she was dumbfounded by the series of zeros on it. The expression on Mrs. Tang's face changed from the original expectation to painful disappointment. She turned around and slapped Tang Minjing hard. "Didn't you say the baby was Li Xiqing's? How could this happen?" Tang Minjing's face was soon swollen. She stared at the result in her hand and murmured, "How is it possible? How is it possible? If it was not Li Xiqing that night, then who could it be? Who could it be?" Recently, Li Xiqing often worked overtime in the company, so Chengyu's work was much easier. In the 3 years that she had worked for Li Xiqing, she had only left the morning shift a few times. Just when he thought he could relax a little more today, he received a call from the big boss. She complained in her heart, but soon picked up the phone. "Boss, go to Star City and find 20 bodyguards and 20 nannies tomorrow." She was startled. Hearing his dangerous and cold tone, she became more nervous. "What's wrong?" Big Boss never liked to order servants and bodyguards around, and Star City, on the surface, it looked like a glamorous and lively casino. In fact, it was recognized as the largest and most mysterious trading place in Connecticut. The bodyguards and nannies there were all mute, but they were extremely expensive. Just one of them would cost millions. Many noble families liked to use such people, but what did Li Xiqing need them for? Obviously, Li Xiqing would not answer her. He continued, "Contact Luo Zhan and ask him to check the DNA registration system of the Kingstown First Military Hospital." "Yes." Hearing Chengyu's response, Li Xiqing hung up and called Li Beixing. The call was quickly connected and he said, "Brother, do me a favor." It was a rare call from Li Xiqing. Li Beixing was very surprised and sighed. "Is there something that you can't handle?" Chapter 298. Rong Haiyue. Li Beixing repeated the name and said in an intriguing tone, "He is at the same level as Dad. Are you sure you want to investigate him?" Rong Haiyue's rank was the same as Li Zhao's. The two had always been friendly on the surface, but secretly, they were fighting. If Li Beixing rashly investigated Rong Rue and was found out by Rong Haiyue, it would be a lot of trouble. Li Xiqing knew this, so after finding out Rong Rue's identity, he did not go further, fearing that it would bring trouble to the Li family. But now, Li Xiqing sneered, and the coldness almost froze Li Beixing through the phone. "I want him to know that I am investigating him. Rong Rue must have played a part in this. If it were not for Rong Rue, the truth would have been revealed in the study last time." Tang Minjing and Rong Rue had a very close relationship. Now Li Xiqing did not even know where Rong Rue was hiding, and what identity he was using to help Tang Minjing do these heartless things. However, alerting the enemy was the best way to find him and get back at him. Although Rong Haiyue was Li Zhao's opponent, he was a decent and reasonable man. If he noticed that Li Beixing was investigating Rong Rue, he would certainly investigate the reason. At that time, he would naturally be able to find this guy. Li Beixing could hear Li Xiqing's ruthlessness through the phone inside. It's a pity that you are not a soldier. Brave, smart, and ruthless. If Li Xiqing was a soldier, he would definitely not be inferior to Li Beixing. Unfortunately, he was a businessman. Okay, since you said so, I will help you. Wait for my good news. Brother, Grandpa is in the hospital. Do you know that? Li Beixing's voice suddenly became serious. When did this happen? Li Xiqing briefly told him what had happened. Li Beixing was furious. Is Mom stupid? This kind of thing. Forget it. Wait for me. I'll go home right away. Li Xiao and Li Beixing arrived at the hospital at the same time. When they met, they did not look very good. Qin Shuhua and Nanny Rong were looking after Captain Li, but Li Xiqing was nowhere to be seen. When Li Xiao saw this, he was enraged. He lowered his voice and roared, "That brat, get him out here!" Nanny Rong hurried to explain. She just fainted, and Mr. Jiang is looking after her in the next room. Fainted? Li Xiao's anger subsided a little. What happened? Nanny Rong told her what had happened. As she spoke, her voice became more and more choked up. In the end, she cried for Su Qianxi. I did not expect the second young master to be such a person. It is such a pity that the second young mistress is such a good girl. She is such a jerk. However, when he was about to speak, he was shocked to find that all the people around him were from the Li family and were on Li Xiqing's side. Immediately, Nanny Rong wiped her tears and said, I'm going to see Madame Li. Li Xiao took a deep breath and looked at the old man on the sickbed without hiding anything. Captain Li's eyelids seemed to move. Qin Shuhua walked up to him in surprise and shouted, Dad, you're awake? Captain Li had no strength to open his eyes. Seeing Qin Shuhua, he raised his hand and pushed her. He did not have much strength, but his resistance was obvious. Qin Shuhua's face changed, looking embarrassed. Chapter 299. Grandpa, Li Beixing called. Captain Li glanced at Li Beixing and said in a weak voice, Beixing, call your brother. Get your brother here. Li Beixing nodded and went out of the door. He looked around and finally found Li Xiqing in the left ward. Li Xiqing was sitting by Su Qianxi's bed, holding her hand that was not on the drip. Noticing Li Beixing coming in, he only glanced at him. Nanny Rong was wiping her tears, looking at Li Xiqing with blame. Li Beixing felt that the world was about to change. He walked over and said, Grandpa is calling you over. He looks a bit angry. Li Xiqing had already expected this. He put down Su Qianxi's hand and stood up. At the moment when he passed by Li Beixing said, Li Xiqing, are you really with Tang Minjing? Li Xiqing stopped, clenched his fists, and suddenly felt a strong sense of powerlessness. No one believed him. No one believed him. Squinting, Li Xiqing only said, She doesn't deserve it. So what's with the DNA test? Dad's name is written on it, and the match is more than 70%. This can't be a coincidence. There's also the seal of the leading military hospital. Before Li Beixing finished, Li Xiqing's phone rang in his pocket. It was Luozhan. Picking up the phone, Luozhan's voice came through. Hello, Li Xiqing? Yes, how is it? I found it. There are 2 results in the system. Both have your father's name on them, but one is 0%, and the other is one after the other, but... Say it. But I just checked the surveillance and found that 2 of the surveillance videos were cut. I can't see when they did the test. And I don't know who Tang Minjing did it with. It's a bit tricky. Rong Rui again? It's most likely him. He's getting more and more skilled. Now even I can't find him. And I don't know who he is. It's so scary. It's like he disappeared from the world. I know who he is. You don't have to worry about this for now. Do me another favor. What? In Jiangzhou I have a villa. As he spoke he paused. Li Beixing clearly sensed the sharp light that flashed in the depths of his eyes. The faint scheming glint in his eyes was clear. Li Beixing was shocked, finding it more and more difficult to understand his brother. What was he trying to do at this critical juncture? Li Xiqing suddenly changed the subject and said, I'll tell you later. Hearing them walking away, Li Xiqing, Li Xiqing, Li Xiqing, and Li and Xiqing. Su Rong Xiqing, Li Rong Li Xiqing and said Li Sik, Li Ar Sik, Xiqing said. Ar Sik said Su. Rong Su Sicheng, Li. Nanny Rong felt sad. She had seen with her own eyes how estranged Li Sicheng and his wife were from the beginning, and their relationship had finally improved. However, such a thing happened. Even she could not believe that Li Sicheng would do such a thing. She did not know how to comfort Su Qianxi. Suddenly, Su Qianxi frowned and looked at the door of the ward. A tall figure stood at the door. His belly was slightly bulging, looking at Su Qianxi with a smile. Chapter 300. Tang Minjing was carrying a bag and a bag of fruit. When she walked in, Nanny Rong looked very strange. "What are you doing here?" Nanny Rong had never been nice to Tang Minjing, not only because of this. Before this, she did not like Tang Minjing at all. Tang Minjing did not seem to notice Nanny Rong's unfriendliness. She walked in, looked at Su Qianxi and said, "Su Qianxi, I heard that you are not well, so I came to see you." Su Qianxi curled her lips and said coldly, "Oh, since you have seen me, you can go now." How could Tang Minjing leave? That was not her only purpose. However, seeing Su Qianxi's pale face in bed, Su Qianxi still felt very happy. Taking out a notebook from her bag, Tang Minjing pretended to be guilty and said, "Su Qianxi, I know I am sorry, but I am really with Brother Sicheng. He said he would give our child the best name. Every day, I can feel the baby waiting for its father in my belly. I believe Auntie has already shown you the test results. I hope you can." "Hope me for what?" Su Qianxi looked at her coldly and curled her lips. However, her expression was very stiff. "Abdicate? Let you and Li Sicheng be together?" Tang Minjing did not say anything, but her expression said it all. Su Qianxi suddenly felt ridiculous. Tang Minjing was the mistress, but why was Su Qianxi forcing her, the queen, to leave? "I want to see Grandpa." Su Qianxi looked up at Tang Minjing. "Can you help me there?" Tang Minjing did not expect Su Qianxi to make such a request, and felt a bit excited. It happened that she did not want to keep the bastard in her belly. If Su Qianxi could help her, then she would be screwed. Tang Minjing smiled and was about to speak when Su Qianxi continued. "By the way, tell Grandpa and Dad about this." Looking at her belly, Su Qianxi said, "After all, your child is his. He will take good care of you." Hearing that, Tang Minjing was a bit tempted. Yes, now everyone thought that the child in her belly was Li Sicheng's. Although Brother Sicheng did not admit it, since even Su Qianxi thought so, why didn't she use it to get married, and then find a way to get rid of him? Tang Minjing's heart warmed up. She nodded and helped Su Qianxi down. Nanny Rong was shocked and said, "Madam, let me do it." "It's okay. Tang Minjing is my good friend. She won't hurt me." Then she smiled at Tang Minjing. "Right, Tang Minjing?" Tang Minjing felt even weirder, but seeing her innocent smile, she felt relieved and nodded. "We should help each other. Let's go." Tang Minjing helped Su Qianxi out of the door. People were coming and going in the corridor. There were many patients and nurses. Just at the door, Su Qianxi let go of her hand and called, "Tang Minjing." Tang Minjing was in a good mood. She looked up and said, "Yes." However, just as he finished speaking, a hand grabbed his hair and slapped him hard on the face. Slap! The crisp sound echoed in the corridor, attracting everyone's attention. Chapter 301. Tang Minjing subconsciously wanted to dodge, but her long hair was in Su Qianxi's grasp. Seeing Su Qianxi's hand coming down, Tang Minjing wanted to resist. However, before she raised her hand, she was hit by Su Qianxi. Then the second, the third, the fourth, Su Qianxi hit Tang Minjing's face from both sides like crazy, which attracted the attention of the people around. "Shameless, shameless, shameless!" Su Qianxi yelled as she hit Su Qianxi. Nanny Rong was shocked, but did not try to stop her. "Well done. That's how it should be." Nanny Rong wiped her tears and looked at Su Qianxi coldly. Li Sicheng was talking to Grandpa, and the door was open. When he heard Su Qianxi's voice, he panicked and rushed out of the room. At a glance, he saw Su Qianxi drawing her bow at a figure. "Shameless, shameless!" Su Qianxi's voice was sobbing. Li Sicheng's heart skipped a beat and pulled her down. Su Qianxi's hands were red. Feeling someone was pulling her, she struggled like crazy. However, realizing it was Li Xiqing, she stopped struggling. All the strength in her body seemed to be drained. Collapsing in his arms, she burst into tears. Li Xiqing held her tightly in his arms and whispered, "It's okay. It's okay." Tang Minjing's face was already red and swollen. Su Qianxi was caught off guard and lost the chance to fight back. A kind-hearted person came up to see Tang Minjing and exclaimed, "Oh my God, look at her. Go and see. It's terrible. I'll take you." However, Tang Minjing did not appreciate it. She pushed the kind-hearted person away and stared at Su Qianxi and Li Xiqing coldly. Su Qianxi was held in Li Xiqing's arms, crying like a child, as if it was her who had just been hit. Don't cry. Grandpa will be sad." Li Xiqing hugged her as if he was comforting a child, caring for her and whispering gently. Tang Minjing's heart ached, even more than her face. It turned out that Li Xiqing could be like this. Sobbing, Su Qianxi said, "I want to go home, honey. I want to go home." "Okay, let's go home. I'll take you home. Hubby, you love me, right?" "Yes, I love you, only you." "Hubby, you won't accept that woman, right?" "No, I only want you." Every word was like a death sentence for Tang Minjing. Su Qianxi looked satisfied in his arms. Burying her head in his arms, she said, "I want to go home. Honey, take me home." "Okay, I'll take you home." Li Xiqing felt his heart was about to be torn apart. He glanced at Tang Minjing coldly and said to Nanny Rong, "Take Miss Tang to the doctor. The medical fees are under my name. Be careful." Didn't she say that the child in her stomach was his? Then let's do another DNA test. I'll watch with my own eyes. However, in Su Qianxi's ears, the meaning was completely different. She loosened her grip on his sleeve and lay motionless. Li Xiqing carried her in his arms and quickly left the hospital. Putting her on the passenger seat, Li Xiqing carefully fastened the seat belt for her. However, he was caught off guard and was slapped hard in the face. Chapter 302. Li Xiqing's heart felt like it had been cut into pieces at this moment, bloody and unscathed. Gazing at her deeply, he fastened his seat belt, closed the door, and sat in the driver's seat. Turning the steering wheel, he pursed his lips and did not say a word. Through the rearview mirror, he could clearly see the red handprint on his face, which was a bit dazzling. She leaned against the back of the seat with her eyes closed. Tears flowed down her face, and her hands hung limply on her lap. Silence. In the car, there was only the sound of each other's breathing. When they got home, he carried her all the way upstairs and put her on the bed. They did not say a word. Lying in bed, she opened her eyes and looked at him. At the same time, he looked at her as well. Their eyes met, and there were different emotions in each other's eyes. The two of them spoke at the same time, but soon shut up at the same time. Li Xiqing did not speak, looking at her with his cold and deep eyes. Su Qianxi's eyes were dry. Looking at him, her eyes were a bit empty. She opened her mouth and said, "Let's get a divorce." His eyes suddenly narrowed. He clenched his fists and blurted out, "No way. Let's get a divorce." With just 3 words, Li Xiqing had completely destroyed the calmness he had been maintaining. Propping his hands on the edge of the bed, he looked down at her and said firmly, "That is not my child. That woman must have done something to it. Tomorrow, I will go to her for a paternity test." Su Qianxi chuckled and pushed him. "Stop joking. If she can do something, can't you? Mr. Li, are you kidding me?" Li Xiqing felt like thousands of arrows were piercing his heart. He growled, "Su Qianxi." "Yeah, I'm listening." Su Qianxi moved on the bed and found herself a comfortable position. Although her eyes were red and swollen, the sarcastic smile on her face was clear. Su Qianxi's attitude hurt Li Xiqing even more. She did not believe him. "Tang Minjing loves you wholeheartedly. She has you in her heart. You know that, don't you?" She would remember what they said in the car for the rest of her life. Li Xiqing did not expect that she would use his words against him. He retorted, "I just said it out of anger. But I'm very serious." She looked at him, her eyes full of sadness. "It's too tiring. Being with you, it's really so tiring." She should not have expected that. A man like Li Xiqing should not belong to her. He and Tang Minjing were a match made in heaven. It was because of her that Tang Minjing could only be a mistress pregnant with his illegitimate child. However, how could Li Xiqing's child be a bastard? Even if Tang Minjing was willing, Qin Shuhua would not agree. Rather than being defeated like a loser, it was better to strike first and gain the upper hand. At the very least, she could preserve the last shred of dignity that she had in her previous life and this life, right? However, Li Xiqing clenched his fists tighter and hit the edge of the bed. Impossible. You can forget about it. I will prove to you that I have never done anything wrong to you. I have never touched her. That child has nothing to do with me. Chapter 303. With a loud bang, Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat. Looking in the direction of his departure, she was in a daze. After a while, she took out her cell phone and dialed a number. Song Yifan had just boarded the plane. Before he could sit down, he received a call from Su Qianxi. This was the first time that Su Qianxi had called him, and Song Yifan was pleasantly surprised. He immediately answered the call and called, Su Qianxi. Hearing Song Yifan's voice, Su Qianxi's helpless heart suddenly seemed to have found support. She burst into tears and said, Dad. Her voice was choked with sobs, which shocked Song Yifan. He quickly asked, What's wrong? What happened? Su Qianxi could not say a word and began to cry. Song Yifan panicked and asked, What's wrong? Tell me slowly. Su Qianxi calmed herself down and said, Can I stay at your place for a few days? Okay. Where are you? Dad will pick you up. Don't cry and don't run around. Song Yifan took down the small luggage that he had just put on the plane. Facing the confused look and shouts of the stewardess, he got off the plane and hurried out. Su Qianxi did not wait for Song Yifan in the house. Instead, she stood at the intersection where Li Xiqing would not run into her. There were only a few pieces of clothes in her suitcase. Song Yifan took a taxi and saw Su Qianxi. He immediately asked the driver to stop. Seeing Su Qianxi's red and swollen eyes, he did not dare to ask more. He put her luggage in the car and took it to his own place. When she received Li Xiqing's call, Tang Minjing was applying medicine in the hospital. Tang Minjing had never dreamed that he would ask for her by name. This was the first time since she graduated from college. Although Su Qianxi's face was swollen, Tang Minjing still squeezed out a smile to welcome this unexpected surprise. Li Xiao and Li Beixing followed Li Xiqing. When Tang Minjing saw them, she immediately could not keep her smile. She forced a smile and asked, Brother Xiqing, what can I do for you? Li Xiqing looked at Tang Minjing. Li Xiqing looked at her coldly and said, Come with me. Feeling something was wrong, Tang Minjing asked uneasily, What's wrong? Can't you just say it here? Don't make me repeat myself. Tang Minjing's eyelids twitched, and she stood up immediately. Li Xiqing's attitude toward her had not changed at all. It had been more than 3 months since she had been so close to him. She felt indescribably close to him. Following Li Xiqing, the more she walked, the more familiar the surroundings seemed to her. This place. She had been here yesterday and the day before. This was the genetics department. Pausing, Tang Minjing had a bad feeling and asked, Brother Xiqing, why did you bring me here? Blood test. At the same time, Chengyu had taken out a document and said, Boss, I got it. Yesterday's results. Li Xiqing took it and flipped through it. It was the same as what he had seen in the afternoon. Curling his lips, Li Xiqing's eyes seemed to be filled with frost. What's with this result? Tang Minjing's heart was pounding. She forced herself to say, What do you mean? The evidence is right in front of you. And you still want to deny it? Then what about this one? Chapter 304. Tang Minjing acted as if she had caught a hot potato. She immediately threw the results out and shouted, Li Xiqing, what do you mean? Her voice was so loud that it was deafening. Li Xiao and Li Beixing did not expect Tang Minjing to be so agitated. Tang Minjing gasped and said, You can leave me, but why do you have to doubt me like this? Am I that kind of person in your eyes? Li Xiqing stared at her coldly. Chengyu stood behind Li Xiqing and pouted disdainfully. Of course she was. Chengyu had already seen what kind of person Tang Minjing was when they were in Australia. If people wanted to belittle themselves, nothing could stop them. Whether it's true or not, We'll know after another test. Li Zhao's voice was full of authority. He looked at her and said, both have my name on them, but the two sets of data are not the same at all. Miss Tang, can you explain which set is mine? Tang Minjing's face turned pale. For a moment, she did not know how to explain. At this time a nurse came out. Seeing so many people, she suddenly became nervous and said weakly, Miss Chung. Chung Yu heard the call and turned her head. The nurse looked nervous and said, the amniotic fluid sample taken from Miss Tang yesterday seems to be missing. I have been looking for it for a long time, but I can't find it. And Mr. Li. Hearing this, everyone's face changed. Only Tang Minjing looked indescribably relaxed. Li Xiqing turned his head and stared at Tang Minjing with a pair of sharp and cold eyes, as if he wanted to freeze her alive. Tang Minjing shivered and subconsciously took a step back. At the same time, a doctor in a white coat passed by. Wearing a big black-rimmed glasses, he glanced at Tang Minjing and walked past her without a moment's pause. Then I'll take it again. Li Xiqing's cold voice came out, without any warmth. The doctor in the white coat looked back and glanced at Li Xiqing coldly. Li Xiqing noticed his gaze and also looked over. However, before he could even see Li Xiqing's face, the doctor disappeared at the end of the corridor. Hearing that, Tang Minjing turned pale and yelled, no! You don't dare? Chung Yu provoked. No. Tang Minjing cried hysterically. You can't do it. If they did it at this time, it would be no different from slapping their faces. She wanted face, and so did the Tang family. The news of her pregnancy had spread all over Kingstown. If it was not Li Xiqing's child, then absolutely not. The nurse also quickly came over and said, the fetus is less than 4 months old. It's already very risky to do an amniocentesis. If you do it again, you will definitely miscarry. Hearing that, Tang Minjing was relieved. At the same time, she felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. Holding her belly, she bent over and turned pale. The nurse was shocked and quickly came over to support her. Oh my God, hurry up and push the bed over. No one saw that at the end of the corridor, the doctor who had just walked past leaned against the wall with a cold and expressionless face. Chapter 305. Tang Minjing's pregnancy had been affected. It was hard for her to calm down after the ups and downs. You will never be able to pay me back. When she was standing at the door of the genetics department, she could still hear the voice behind her. Tang Minjing could not help but break out in a cold sweat. That guy was too bold. The door of the ward was suddenly opened, which startled Tang Minjing. Jolted, Zhang Xian abruptly raised his head. A man in a white coat came in. He was not very tall, about 178 centimeters. Wearing a big black-rimmed glasses, he looked serious. Tang Minjing was shocked to see him and exclaimed, "Why are you here?" The young man walked in, took off his glasses and looked at her face with pity. That woman is so cruel. She is so hateful. Tang Minjing pushed him away in shock and said, "Why are you here?" Li Xiqing admitted that he knows you. If he recognizes you, neither of us will have a good ending. What are you afraid of? I have hacked all the surveillance cameras. Even if Li Xiqing has 3 heads and 6 arms, what can he do to me? But then again, if it were not for me, you would have been caught by Li Xiqing for another paternity test. At that time, you will not be the only one ruined. Tang Minjing, of course, knew this and said, "Didn't you say you went home? Why are you still here? When did you come?" "Well, I sneaked out." Rong Rue pulled a stool and sat down. "Li Xiqing has his eyes on my uncle. My uncle just called me and told me to go home. I am not afraid." He was not afraid, but Tang Minjing was very worried. She said, "Do you think you are so powerful? If it were not for you secretly plotting against Li Xiqing, he would not even know who you are. Otherwise, do you think you can get away with it? At this time, you'd better listen to your uncle and go home. If Li Xiqing catches you, so what if he catches me? What can he do?" Rong Rue looked disdainful. "There is a Li Xiao above Li Xiqing. Li Xiao's rank is the same as my uncle's. His grandfather is a general, and so is my grandfather. I might not lose to him. Minjing, I really don't understand. What's so good about him? To think that you can't forget him, and are even willing to give birth to his child. Although the child in her belly was not Li Xiqing's, it was enough to make Rong Rui jealous. What are you going to do now? We can't keep it forever, right? Rong Rui glanced at her abdomen meaningfully. If word gets out that this child is not Li Xiqing's, it will not only ruin you, but also your father and your entire family. Gritting her teeth, Tang Minjing looked at him and whispered, Of course not. I will use Su Qianxi to get rid of it. Then I can put the blame on Su Qianxi and clear my name. Su Qianxi will definitely suffer. It's good that you know. Public opinion was the most terrifying thing. Gossip is a fearful thing. Got it. Go away and don't come back again. Tang Minjing urged, full of fear. Rong Rui felt a little bored. He pouted, put his glasses back on, stood up, and walked toward the door. However, as soon as he opened the door, he saw 2 rows of tall men. Chapter 306. Song Yifan did not live in the center of Kingstown. Instead, he lived in a mid-range neighborhood near the center. It was quiet and peaceful, and the neighborhood was very clean. On the 16th floor, after Su Qianxi entered the door, Song Yifan quickly cleaned up a room for her. It was a simple 2-bedroom apartment with a modern style, very Song Yifan style. While Song Yifan was cleaning up the room, Su Qianxi went into the kitchen and rummaged around. She found nothing. The fridge was empty, and many appliances had been powered off. Thinking of the suitcase Song Yifan was carrying, Su Qianxi suddenly realized that. Was he going on a long trip? In the end, he was called back by her. And as soon as he came back, he helped her a lot. Su Qianxi felt touched and guilty. When she closed the fridge door, Song Yifan happened to come out. It's done. I'll help you move it in. Su Qianxi looked at him, nodded and followed him into the house. The room was not big, less than 1/3 of the size of the house. However, it was clean and cozy, and there was the smell of air freshener in the air. Song Yifan felt a bit embarrassed and said, It's a bit small. You can stay here for now. I'll get you a bigger house later. Su Qianxi smiled and whispered, Dad, why are you so nice to me? She was clearly not his biological daughter. Clearly, he could have completely ignored her. However, Song Yifan really treated her like a daughter, so considerate and warm. She just glanced at his suitcase, which had just passed the security check, and the date was today. He came back from the airport. Song Yifan's eyes became gentle again. He smiled and said, Silly girl, you are my daughter. Su Qianxi's heart suddenly felt like there was an extra stove, so warm that her eyes couldn't help turning red. Don't cry. You don't look good anymore. Song Yifan felt sorry for her. You must be hungry. I'll take you to dinner. What do you want to eat? Su Qianxi shook her head. I have no appetite. I don't want to eat. No matter how unhappy you are, you can't torture yourself. Let's go. I'll take you to eat my favorite food. Song Yifan took her downstairs. After walking for about 3 minutes, they saw a noodle house. The noodle house was very simple, and the decorations were a little old, but the hygiene was very clean. An old man was sitting at the front desk. The old man was watching TV with a big snow-white cat in his arms. Seeing them come in, a pair of blue eyes looked at them and meowed. Meow, the old man raised his head and chuckled. Xiaosong, you're here. Didn't you say you were going to London today? You didn't go? Something came up, so I came back. Song Yifan was obviously very familiar with the old man. Let me introduce you. This is my daughter. The old man looked surprised. Oh, you have a daughter? Aren't you single? Goddaughter. Hey, she looks a little familiar. Is she Li's granddaughter-in-law? What's his name again? That old guy is already so old, but he still runs around. Li Sun, she said. Yes, that old fellow. Are you that Sue? Yes. She was a bit embarrassed. She seemed to have a tag that she couldn't get rid of. Chapter 307. The old man's face showed that he had expected it. He clapped his hands and said, Oh, that old man is so lucky. His grandchildren are so capable, and he can marry such a beautiful granddaughter-in-law. Are you the wife of the second son? Yes. Of those kids, the one I admire the most is the second son. His whole family is in the military. He went into business despite everyone's opposition, and did a good job. You are so lucky to marry a man like that. Not a bad guy. Su Qianxi smiled reluctantly. Song Yifan gently pushed her inside and said to the old man, "Same old rule, give me 2 servings." "Okay." The old man immediately turned his attention and shouted, "2 servings of Song's rule." Su Qianxi heard that, and immediately choked. What the hell was Song's rule? Seeing her smile, Song Yifan knew that he did not bring her here for nothing. He explained, "I come here often and they all know me. That's why they named my favorite food." Because he often came here, the shop's business was booming. After all, Song Yifan's name was very useful. Soon the dish was served. It was a bowl of fried paste noodles. The sauce was very fragrant. Su Qianxi broke a pair of chopsticks and slowly ate it. Song Yifan also looked hungry and ate quickly. But Su Qianxi took small bites and did not have much of an appetite. It was already past 8 o'clock in the evening. Su Qianxi's phone rang and kept vibrating on the table. There was only one word, honey. Su Qianxi turned off the sound and let it ring. After the first call, Su Qianxi turned off the phone and put it aside. Song Yifan saw it clearly. He seemed to be eating the noodles and asked, "Did you have a fight?" Su Qianxi did not speak and took a bite of the noodles. Li Xiqing was going crazy. When he got home, he looked everywhere, but did not find Su Qianxi. She did not answer his calls, and eventually turned off her phone. Su Qianxi was becoming more and more introverted and timid. She did not have any friends or close classmates. Kingstown was so big. Where would she go? The first place that came to his mind was school. Leaving this matter to Chengyu, the second place that came to his mind was Lu Yihan. Thinking that she was probably with Lu Yihan, Li Xiqing's heart felt like it was on fire. He drove to Kingstown First Hospital, found Lu Yihan's ward, and directly broke in. Lu Yihan was on an 4 drip with a computer in front of him. The hand that was not on the 4 drip was holding the mouse and clicking quickly. Seeing Li Xiqing coming in, Lu Yihan was surprised and then sneered. "Mr. Li, how have you been? What about her?" Her. Lu Yihan immediately thought of Su Qianxi. "Are you looking for Qianqian?" "Qianqian." The intimate address quickly ignited Li Xiqing's anger. "Did she come to see you today? With such a husband who doesn't even give her the right to make friends, how dare she come to me?" Lu Yihan's hands stopped moving. "She's gone." Li Xiqing pursed his lips and clenched his fists. Although she didn't want to admit it, she might have run away from home. He didn't give anyone an explanation. Chapter 308. Picking up the phone, she called Song Yifan. Song Yifan did not answer the phone on the way downstairs and into the car. On the 4th call he finally answered. Song Yifan sounded the same as usual. "Hello. Father-in-law Song." Song Yifan immediately became alert. Looking at Su Qianxi, who was pushing the shopping cart, he stopped. "Is my wife with you?" Su Qianxi turned around and saw Song Yifan holding the phone, looking embarrassed. She knew it was him. Shaking her head at Song Yifan, Su Qianxi pursed her lips and looked like she was about to cry. Song Yifan was scared and quickly said, "No, why is Su Qianxi with me? Is she not at home?" Well, Li Xiqing suddenly felt powerless. They had been married for half a year, but he found that he did not know her at all. She did not go to Lu Yihan or Song Yifan. She was not at school or at home. At this critical moment, she could not be at the old house. So where would she go? "What's wrong? Did you two have a fight?" Song Yifan asked with concern. "It's okay. If you have any news about her, remember to tell me. I am looking for her. I have something very important to tell her." "Oh, okay. If I see her, I will tell her that you are going crazy looking for her." "Thank you." Song Yifan hung up the phone. Seeing Su Qianxi's complicated expression, he sighed and said, "He is looking for you." "Okay." Su Qianxi did not react much. She turned around and took a vegetable from the shopping cart. "Buy some food at home. I will cook for you in the next few days." A few days? That was great. He had never tried living with his daughter before. However, at the same time, Song Yifan felt some sympathy for Li Xiqing. Silently mourning for him for 3 seconds, he followed Li Xiqing. Seeing Li Xiqing walk out, Lu Yihan also picked up the phone to call Su Qianxi. However, her phone was turned off. That was what he had expected. Moving the mouse, he opened the chat window with her and quickly typed, "Call me back." But after thinking about it, he still made a call to Yulili. Su Qianxi did not have many friends, but Yulili was one of them. Would she go to Yulili? Ah! Yulili's whole body trembled, and she screamed under the man's push. Oming loved her lascivious look. He held her waist, turned around, and continued to fight. The phone on the bedside table rang. Yulili looked sideways and saw a string of numbers. There was no name, but when she saw the number, Yulili was so excited that her heart clenched. Oming let out a low sigh, bent over and scolded, "Bad guy, what do you want?" Half an hour later, the flames of war finally subsided. After Oming entered the bathroom, Yulili got up and called Louis Han back. "Hello." Yulili's voice was very low, but she was secretly delighted. "Why are you looking for me?" Louis Han looked at the time and said grumpily, "What took you so long? What are you doing?" "It's none of your business." "What? Hurry up and fart." "Qianqian is missing. Li Xiqing is looking for her. Did she go to you?" Yulili felt a dull pain in her heart. "I knew it. I knew it." Chapter 309. With a snort, Yulili resisted the urge to throw the phone away and said, "It's none of my business that she disappeared. She doesn't have many friends. She only has a good relationship with me and you in Kingstown. If she didn't come to me, she might have gone to you." "No, she didn't come to me." Yulili was a little annoyed. "Is there anything else? If not, I'll hang up." "Okay." After hanging up the phone, Yulili got up and turned around. Unexpectedly, she found someone standing behind her. Yulili was scared and almost fell. After she recovered, she shouted, "Damn, Oming, are you crazy? You scared me to death." Oming raised his eyebrows and pursed his lips. Naked, he walked toward her and asked, "Who were you talking to on the phone just now?" "Friends. Boyfriend." Yulili gave him a big stare. "It's none of your business. Just mind your own business." She glanced down and found that he still wanted to continue after the shower. She turned her head, rolled up the quilt, and said, "I'm going to take a shower." "Don't rush. Do it again." "No, you said it was only once." "The last time. This time it's true." Oming pulled her back and threw her on the bed. Yulili was unable to fight back, so she gave in and let him have his way again. After that, Yulili was so tired that her bones were soft. She didn't want to move at all. "Yulili." "Yes." Yulili didn't even bother to lift her eyelids. Oming put his big hands around her and said seriously, "Let's get married." Yulili was scared and immediately got up from him. She looked at him incredulously. "Are you crazy?" Oming looked at the bruises on her chest. His eyes darkened, and he smiled wickedly. He touched her face with his big hands and said seriously, "I'm not crazy. Marry me, and I will make you the young madam of the O family." Didn't she love money? The O family was rich, but Yulili looked like she had seen a ghost. She got up, got out of bed, and said quickly, "I'm going to take a shower." Oming glanced at the water stains on his body and rolled to his feet. He followed closely behind her and walked in. Yulili saw him come in and said with disgust, "Get out." "Still want to scram?" Oming deliberately twisted her meaning. "If you're not tired, we can do it in the bathroom. How about trying to develop a new position?" "Go away." Yulili threw the shower head at him. "I was afraid that you would King come every day, every day." Furthermore, he had taken it several times a day, yet he did not see him nourishing his kidneys. Sooner or later, he would suffer from kidney deficiency and Mediterranean Sea. Oming took the shower head, stretched out his hand, and pressed her against the wall. He poured the water on them and said, "I'm serious." "I'm serious too. Scram. I'm talking about marriage." Yulili was suddenly speechless. Looking at his rare seriousness, she sneered, "With your identity as Master O, I don't deserve you. I don't need you to be worthy of me. It's fine as long as I like you." Yulili thought it was ridiculous, so she pressed closer and asked, "Do you like me or my body?" Oming pressed his body against hers and laughed evilly. He pushed his thigh between her legs and whispered, "I like everything about you. Marry me, and everything I have will be yours." Lily was suddenly entered and she groaned. Chapter 310. When they all finished showering, it was already more than an hour later. Lily lay there motionlessly, allowing Oming to help her wash and dress her. Finally, she nestled comfortably on the bed and found a comfortable position to lie down. With his upper body bare, Oming lit a cigar and sat on the small armchair next to the bed, smoking leisurely. Looking at Lily sleeping soundly, Oming felt indescribably annoyed. What was wrong with him? Why did this woman not like him at all? Now he was offering such a big price just to keep her by his side. Was this bait not big enough? Although the O family was not famous, they were absolutely rich. Didn't this woman love money? Why was she not willing to marry him? Oming could not figure it out. The thick smoke blinded his eyes. After a long puff, he put out the cigar. The phone on the bed rang. Lily impatiently pulled the quilt over her head. It was Li Xiqing. Looking at the time, it was past 11 p.m. Why was he calling at this time? Oming picked up the phone and sat on the sofa with his legs crossed. Hello, Mr. Li, what can I do for you? Are you with your woman? Why are you thinking about my woman in the middle of the night? My wife is missing. It is very likely that she went to see your woman. After all, Kingstown was so big. It was impossible for her to disappear into thin air. He had searched all the hotels, checked all the records of the stations, and even went to the Su family's house, but did not find her. Unfortunately, my woman has been with me the entire day. She hasn't been separated at all. Okay, I see. Oming heard the disappointment in Li Xiqing's voice and whistled teasingly. Did your wife run away from home because she couldn't stand you? Li Xiqing's face became gloomier. He did not answer and directly hung up. Less than a second after the phone was hung up, a call came in. It was Chengyu. Boss, according to your order, we have got the traffic surveillance. Mrs. seems to have left with Mr. Song. Song Yifan. Yes. Li Xiqing suddenly felt like a fool, being fooled by Su Qianxi. He thought that Song Yifan would not lie to him about this. He thought that Song Yifan would at least have some sense as an elder. But it was Li Xiqing's voice. Hearing this, Chengyu was stunned. This was the first time she heard Big Boss swear. Although it was rude, but what was with that masculine smell? Ugh, so violent. So sexy. You go back first. I'll call you if there's anything. All right. She had cried all day and was exhausted. She thought that she would fall asleep soon after lying in bed. But there were things in her mind that kept her from falling asleep. The more he lay down, the more awake he became. He got up, opened the door and walked out. Song Yifan was on the phone and was surprised to see her. She waved her hand to let him continue and walked barefoot to the sofa in the living room. However, before he sat down, the doorbell rang. When her snow-white feet touched the cold ground, she couldn't help but curl up. She walked to the door and tiptoed to look through the peephole. There was no one there. Chapter 311. Seeing him, Su Qianxi's first reaction was to pull her hand back and close the door. Li Xiqing reacted faster and grabbed the door to prevent her from closing it. Su Qianxi pushed the door twice, but it did not budge. Annoyed, she yelled, "Dad, there's a hooligan." Startled, Song Yifan turned around and was surprised to see it was Li Xiqing. However, he did not care and continued to speak fluent English. It seemed that they were talking about something important. Put on your shoes, Li Xiqing said coldly with displeasure, looking at Su Qianxi's feet that were curled up because of the cold floor. Ignoring him, Su Qianxi reached out to push him, but her hand was firmly held by him. Holding her hand, Li Xiqing tried to force his way in. Su Qianxi panicked and yelled, "Dad, help me." Song Yifan was shocked. He quickly said goodbye to his friend on the phone and hung up. Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi were still in a stalemate. Exasperated, Su Qianxi saw Song Yifan and said, "Don't let him in." However, Li Xiqing reacted faster and directly grabbed her waist. As Su Qianxi yelped, he picked her up and closed the door. They successfully broke in. Su Qianxi could not fight back at all. Feeling a bit amused, Song Yifan smiled helplessly. Being picked up, Su Qianxi blushed at her uselessness. Seeing that Song Yifan was smiling, she became angry. "You did nothing to save me. Li Xiqing threw her on the sofa, picked up her feet, and put them in his palm. Looking at Song Yifan, he said, "Father-in-law Song, I'm here to take my wife home." Su Qianxi wanted to take her feet back, but he held them firmly. "Let me go," she said angrily. "Don't move," he said firmly. Li Xiqing's palm was very warm, and the coldness on her feet quickly faded. Su Qianxi looked away from him and yelled at Song Yifan, "You betrayed me." Song Yifan sat down on the sofa not far from them and said innocently, "It's not me. I didn't say anything." Li Xiqing pursed his lips and rubbed her feet with his big hand. He said casually, "I found it myself. Let's go home." Su Qianxi pulled her foot back, stood up from the sofa, and went to her room. Li Xiqing wanted to follow them, but Song Yifan stopped him. "Kid, let's talk." Su Qianxi slammed the door and locked it. She got under the covers and listened to what was going on outside. However, the door was so soundproof that she could not hear anything at all. Stealthily, he put on his shoes and opened a corner of the door. Only then did he hear some movements. "I will take care of it." The voice was intermittent, and Su Qianxi could not hear it clearly. Stretching out her head to hear more, she heard footsteps. He quickly retracted his head, closed and locked the door and crawled into bed. Knock knock. Someone knocked on the door. Su Qianxi covered her head with the quilt and pretended to be dead. "Su Qianxi," he laughed. It was Song Yifan's voice. Su Qianxi paused and took off the quilt, feeling a bit sad. She felt wronged and unwilling. What the hell? Wasn't he here to take her home? Was he leaving? Su Qianxi felt so sad that she wanted to cry. He really did not care about her at all. Chapter 312. Holding back the urge to cry, Su Qianxi said, "I see. Dad, you should go to bed too. I'm going to bed. Get up and have a glass of milk. I've heated it up. Drink it before you go to bed," said Song Yifan. Su Qianxi did not want to get up, but she did not want to let him down. She stood up, walked to the door barefoot and opened it. However, it was not Song Yifan who she saw, but her first reaction was to close the door. However, Li Xiqing moved faster and blocked the door. Su Qianxi slammed the door hard, and there was a strong resistance when the door was closed. Bang! Ah! Li Xiqing let out an exaggerated scream. Su Qianxi was shocked and quickly let go of the door. Seeing Li Xiqing holding his fingers, she was scared and held his hand. It was already bruised. Feeling distressed, she asked, "What do you do? Does it hurt?" Li Xiqing did not answer, but held her with the other hand that was not injured. Su Qianxi was startled. Looking up, she saw a pair of eyes as deep as a lake. Suddenly annoyed, she struggled to push him away. However, how could she resist his strength? No matter how hard she tried, he did not move. Su Qianxi was annoyed. "Let go. My hand hurts." Li Xiqing looked at her pitifully. "It's all your fault. You still want to drive me away. You are so heartless." Su Qianxi felt a bit guilty and immediately shut up. Looking down at his fingers, she found that they were bruised, which looked a bit scary. It looked like it was hurting a lot. "What do you do? Does it hurt?" "It hurts," Li Xiqing complained. Su Qianxi felt a bit distressed. However, seeing the smirk in his eyes, she immediately turned around and yelled, "You are a man. You are so fragile. How dare you say that?" Song Yifan did not know whether to laugh or cry. Could a man not get hurt? A man would also hurt when his fingers were pinched. However, Li Xiqing said, "Yes. That's why I need my wife to comfort me." His pitiful tone made Su Qianxi feel bad. She looked at him again and asked in a low voice, "Does it hurt?" "Yes, it hurts." Unable to watch it anymore, Song Yifan immediately turned around and left. Su Qianxi took his hand, walked into the bathroom, turned on the faucet, and flushed it. Blood clots are difficult to treat, but cold water can relieve the pain. Li Xiqing's eyes became softer. Looking down, he found that she was still not wearing shoes. Hugging her with his big hand, she exclaimed and heard his voice. "Step on my foot." Su Qianxi looked down and found that her snow-white feet were a little red. It was cold. She didn't stand on ceremony and stepped on his foot, turned off the tap, and said, "Let go." "What are you doing? Wear your shoes." "Why are you wearing shoes?" Go get some ice from the fridge. Oh. He took her in his arms and walked to the kitchen happily. Opening the fridge, he asked, "How much do you want?" "One," she said. "And a towel. Where can I get a towel?" Bathroom. Holding her in his arms, he went into the bathroom and took out a towel. "What about now?" Li Siqing looked down at her. He found that she was blushing like an apple. Hearing his words, she said weakly, "The sofa." Chapter 313. Su Qianxi blushed even more, and let him carry her to the sofa. She took the thing in his hand, wrapped the ice in a towel, and put it on his hand. His big hand was grabbed by her soft palm. The cold feeling came from her fingers, and went straight to the tip of his heart. Li Siqing's eyes became softer and whispered, "I found Rong Rue." Su Qianxi paused, looked up at him, and was slightly surprised. "Rong Rue?" "Yes, he and Tang Minjing planned to abort the child and then frame you. You'd better not contact Tang Minjing during this time." Su Qianxi was slightly shocked. This was indeed Tang Minjing's style. But how did he know? "You were eavesdropping." "Eavesdropping?" Li Siqing did not like the word eavesdropping. He frowned and corrected her. "To be exact, I was eavesdropping. Unfortunately, there was no recording. Otherwise, if he played it to her at this time, he would be completely cleared of suspicion." Su Qianxi blinked and looked puzzled. Li Siqing explained. "Rong Rue pretended to be a doctor and went to catch up with Tang Minjing when she was in the hospital. Therefore, she was caught red-handed by him." "You arrested Rong Rue?" With Li Siqing's personality, he would definitely not let it go. Sure enough, Li Siqing looked at her with admiration and nodded. "Yes, locked in a secret place." "Ah, that's not good. If his family finds out." Rong Rue was from the capital, although she did not know what he did for a living. When Chengyu gave birth to a child in her previous lifetime, his family sent a dozen people, surrounding an old man, who personally gave Chengyu's daughter a name. That was enough to rival the Li family. What I want is to let them know. Daring to break into the Li family's territory and hurt his people, Li Siqing did not intend to let him go from the beginning. The power of the Rong family and the Li family had always been equal. Now it was the Rong family who offended them first. How could they not fight back? Su Qianxi was not particularly smart, and she knew nothing about politics. However, hearing what he said, she was relieved and asked, "Then, what about Tang Minjing?" This name had always been a thorn in Su Qianxi's heart. As time passed, it became deeper and deeper. In the hospital, Li Siqing still wanted to say something, but his phone suddenly rang. It was Chengyu. "Boss, Mr. Rong pretended to have a seizure. I called the doctor, but he injured the doctor and took your mother hostage." She picked up the phone and heard Chengyu's voice. However, he did not turn on the speaker, so she could not hear what Chengyu said. Li Siqing frowned more and more. In the end, his eyes darkened. "My mother?" "Yes. What is she doing there?" She paused and said weakly, "I thought you asked her to come." Li Siqing's eyes darkened, and he said in a low voice, "I know. Try to calm him down. I'll be right there." "All right." Hanging up the phone, Li Siqing got off the sofa under Su Qianxi's surprised gaze. "Wait a minute." Li Siqing looked down and rubbed her head. He said gently, "I have something to do. You rest here for a while. I will pick you up when I'm done." Oh, although she did not know what had happened, seeing that Li Siqing was in a hurry, it must be something serious. However, didn't he say he would take her home? Chapter 314. Su Qianxi was a bit disappointed. Suddenly her eyes lit up. Can I go with you?" However, he swallowed the words back. "Yes." Su Qianxi shook her head and said, "Go ahead." He was a bit reluctant to take her home. However, thinking that Qin Shuhua might have been kidnapped by Rong Rue, he felt a bit uneasy. He said gently, "Go to bed early. It's too late. I'll pick you up tomorrow." "It's okay. You go ahead." Su Qianxi stood up and pushed him to the door. Li Siqing looked down at her feet and complained, "Why do you hate wearing shoes so much? In ancient times, you would be called a slut." Then he picked her up. "It's getting cold. Remember to wear shoes at all times." "Okay." Su Qianxi was put in bed and watched him leave. When the door was closed, Su Qianxi's heart suddenly became empty. She didn't want him to go, even though she had proposed a divorce to him today. But when she saw that he had come to find her, she regretted it. However, at the same time, she was also thankful for his opposition and his determination. That's it. Su Qianxi adjusted her sleeping position and closed her eyes. However, she could not fall asleep no matter how she tossed and turned in bed. Taking a breath, she finally picked up her phone. She browsed Weibo and clicked on Su Qian's posts. 80% of them were poisonous advertisements. After laughing for a while, Su Qianxi clicked on her Weibo and found that her fans had increased a lot. Originally, there were only a few zombie fans, but now there were tens of thousands of them. Seeing more than 80,000 fans, Su Qianxi clicked on the ones related to her, all of which were comments on her album. The Maldives, playing piano under wisteria, wedding photos, banquet photos, and all kinds of small photos of her life. There were thousands of comments at the bottom. A straightforward girl, Su Qianxi. Mr. Li, don't cry. Stand up and masturbate. Trust President Li. Tang and President Li have been childhood sweethearts for so many years. Any man with a little bit of interest would have already slept with her. Why wait until after marriage to cheat on her? Unparalleled Q18 Su Qianxi. My goddess is so beautiful. I'm a fan now. She's perfect. One night 8 times unparalleled Q18. Of course, my goddess is the most beautiful. She is not even on the same level as Mr. Tang. Because I'm cute Su Qianxi, Mr. Tang is too shameless. Mr. Li, don't pay attention to her. Just like President Li said, she is delusional. Su Qianxi read one by one, and her heart was full of happiness. Looking through the album, she found a recent photo with him, and posted it on Weibo. Su Qianxi, I believe you. Good night. Within 10 seconds, Su Qianxi. Good. Love money, love modesty, love thousand Su Ci. What the F asterisk CK. Late at night. Single dogs say that they have been stuffed with dog food and are very satisfied with your photo. Su Qianxi chuckled and replied. Just get used to it. Love money, love Chanshan Kiankiankian Su Ci. F asterisk CK. I got flipped by the goddess. I'm going to buy a lottery ticket. Excited. 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 There were a lot of comments below, all clamoring for a change. Su Qianxi replied for a while and felt sleepy. She charged her phone and put it on the bedside table. Chapter 315. Jiangzhou was located on the edge of the center of Kingstown. When Li Xiqing drove to the villa in Jiangzhou, it was already past 12 o'clock. Sitting in the living room of the villa, Chengyu looked at Rong Rue, who was tied up like a fried dough twist on the ground, and yawned. Hearing the doorbell, a housekeeper immediately went to open the door. When Li Xiqing walked in, Rong Rue, who was lying on the ground, sneered. Coward, you're finally here. Li Xiqing ignored him and looked at Chengyu. Where's my mom? Auntie was frightened just now. I asked her to rest in the room for a while first. Which room? Chengyu led him to the room where Qin Shuhua was. Qin Shuhua seemed to be shocked, put away her phone and said, Why didn't you knock on the door when you came in? You scared me. Li Xiqing glanced at the phone in her hand and asked, Who are you talking to? Your father. Qin Shuhua's eyes were a bit evasive as she replied, I was scared to death. You actually caught the young master of the Rong family. I have to tell your father. You don't have to say it. I have an idea. This guy killed your grandson and almost caused your daughter-in-law to be raped. Everything that Tang Minjing did before must have something to do with him. Qin Shuhua was a bit surprised, covered her mouth and exclaimed, No way, is it really him? Yes. Li Xiqing responded quietly and walked up. Are you okay? I'll send you back first. Don't come here in the future. Qin Shuhua shook her head, evading his eyes, and said, I heard that you arranged a lot of people here, so I came to have a look. I didn't expect that guy to lie to me. It doesn't matter whether he lied to you or you let him out yourself. Li Xiqing's voice was a bit cold. Mom, I know you like Tang Minjing, but I believe you have seen the video at the party clearly. This kind of woman, let alone myself, will not be able to pass Grandpa's test. After so many years, you should know what Grandpa is like. I hope you don't get on his bad side. Li Xiqing's voice was cold. Of course, Qin Shuhua knew, but she had her own difficulties. How could she be willing to let Tang Minjing coerce her and harm her daughter-in-law like this? But Qin Shuhua let out a deep sigh and said, I understand. I will go back by myself. You stay here and deal with this guy. Let me walk you out. It's too late. Li Xiqing followed Qin Shuhua and glanced at her phone. When they walked out of the living room, Rong Rui had already climbed up. His hands were tied, but his legs were free. He stood not far from the sofa, surrounded by a dozen bodyguards. Rong Rui stood in the middle of the crowd, looking at them with a faint smile. Qin Shuhua walked through the center of the living room and went straight to the door. Li Xiqing followed closely. Suddenly, Rong Rui moved and rushed toward Qin Shuhua. Under the fluorescent light in the living room, she clearly saw a silver reflection on the side of his mouth. His pupils shrank as he shouted anxiously, Be careful! Seeing that he was getting closer and closer, Qin Shuhua was so scared that she forgot to move. Suddenly, she felt a weight on her body. Qin Shuhua clearly felt that she was wrapped by a strong body. And then she heard the scream of Chengyu. Chapter 316. Seeing the bright red liquid splashing out, Qin Shuhua's face suddenly turned pale. No one expected that Rong Rui would have a weapon at this time. When Qin Shuhua passed by Rong Rui, she did not deliberately avoid him, but she never thought that she would hurt her son. Tears suddenly came out, and Qin Shuhua quickly held her son and shouted, Xiqing. Chengyu looked at the dozen bodyguards around her and pinned Rong Rui down. One of the bodyguards took the little thing out of his mouth. Squatting down to take a closer look, Chengyu found that it was a switchblade. It was very small, but the knife was very sharp. The blade was about 3 or 4 centimeters long, and the whole knife was covered with blood. Li Xiqing's dark suit was half soaked, and his face suddenly became pale. Noticing Qin Shuhua's excitement, Li Xiqing looked much calmer and said slowly, Mom, I'm fine. Qin Shuhua was even more anxious, sobbing and looking at his wound. You're fine? There's so much blood. Call an ambulance. Call a doctor. Li Xiqing's face became paler and paler, and blood had directly dripped down his sleeve. He gasped in pain, but still said, It's okay. Don't cry. Chengyu, take my mother back first. Okay. Chengyu responded. Hunter, take me to the hospital. Li Xiqing could not hold it anymore, and his hand covering the wound was already wet. Qin Shuhua covered her mouth and sobbed. Looking at Rong Rui, who had been pinned down by the bodyguards, she strode over and slapped him hard in the face. Bastard, you ungrateful son of a b***th. She almost listened to Tang Minjing and let him go. However, she did not expect that this guy would be so cruel. If this knife had been cut somewhere else, he might have lost his life. The more she thought about it, the more scared Qin Shuhua was. She lifted her foot and kicked him in the lower abdomen, cursing, Bastard! Rong Rui screamed, but then he laughed very happily. Chengyu stared at him and whispered, Pervert! Li Xiqing gave her a deep look, his face still as calm as before. Sloppy, vicious, a hacker, and highly skilled. This was Li Xiqing's impression of him. No matter how ruthless the Li family was, they were still good people, and the pillars of the country. Ever since he was a child, Li Xiqing had been taught that if Li Sun did not offend him, he would not offend him. When he first caught Rong Rui, he was in a hurry to find Su Qianxi, and had no time to deal with this guy. However, he never expected that Rong Rui would be so sick. Not only did he carry a knife with him, but he even hid a switchblade in his mouth. It was hard for him to imagine that a descendant of a minister or general would do something like this. However, Li Xiqing had no time to think. The wound was bleeding more and more, and his vision was a little dark. Looking at Chengyu, he said, Don't tell my wife about what happened today. Mom, you too. Don't tell your family. His voice was getting weaker and weaker. Seeing that, the hunter picked him up and ran to the door. By the time he finished treating the wound, it was already midnight. Li Xiqing fainted because of blood loss, but fortunately, his nerves were not damaged. After stitches and a blood transfusion, he was sent to the ICU. In the dream, Li Xiqing and Rong Rui were fighting. Su Qianxi was so scared that she screamed, but she could not stop them. However, a sudden explosion blew the two of them into ashes, leaving not even a speck of dust behind. Chapter 317. What a terrible nightmare. There was no sign at all. It was the first time that she had had such a dream, and she felt more and more uneasy. She picked up the phone and dialed Li Xiqing's number, but the call could not be connected. Her heart felt more and more empty. Why couldn't he get through at this time? She checked the time. It was past 2 a.m. Li Xiqing had always been a light sleeper. If he heard the phone ringing, he would definitely pick it up. Could it be that the phone was turned off, or there was no signal? Su Qianxi was lost in her thoughts. When she dialed the fifth number, the call was connected. Honey. Hearing Li Xiqing's voice, Su Qianxi was finally relieved. Her eyes suddenly became red and she asked, "What took you so long?" "I'm in a meeting in the United States. I may have to go on a business trip tomorrow." Su Qianxi was a bit suspicious. In her memory, there did not seem to be any important projects recently. Why was Li Xiqing so busy? "What projects do you have to have a meeting so late?" "It's past 2 a.m. You didn't sleep well today. Go to bed early." "Yes, why are you still up?" "I can't sleep. I had a nightmare." Su Qianxi felt wronged. She bent her legs and rested her chin on her knees. "I dreamed that you had a conflict with Rong Rui, and then something happened." On the other side of the phone, Li Xiqing slightly paused and looked at the hunter next to him. The hunter was bewildered by the stare and blinked his eyes in bewilderment. "Silly, dreams are all opposite, which means I am very good." Hearing that, Su Qianxi was relieved and said, "Okay, then go to bed early. I will not disturb you. When is your flight?" 6 o'clock. Remember to have a good rest on the plane." "Okay, good night." "Good night." Hanging up the phone, Li Xiqing's sharp eyes fell on the hunter. "You told her?" "Who?" That was the hunter's first reaction, but he quickly recovered. "No, she called several times, but I did not dare to answer." In the end, he woke up and answered the phone himself. "Tell Qingyu not to tell her. I don't want her to worry." As he spoke, he lifted the quilt and was about to get out of bed. The hunter was startled and exclaimed, "Boss, the doctor said you'd better not move. The wound is very deep." "I need to go to the bathroom." "Oh, let me help you. I'm already married." The hunter was speechless. A married woman can't even be helped to the bathroom by a man? Even keeping one's chastity as jade isn't this kind of law-abiding. However, the hunter was smart enough to call Chengyu after he left the ward. Chengyu sat in the living room and watched him being tied up. This time, he couldn't even move his fingers, let alone his feet. "Got it. She did not call to ask me. Even if she did, I would not tell her." Chengyu yawned, feeling sleepy. "That's it. Goodbye." Leaning on the sofa, she fell asleep. At about 3 o'clock in the morning, the door was opened, and she woke up with a fright. It was the big boss. "Aren't you hospitalized?" He did not look at her but at Rong Rui, who was sleeping on the ground. "Close the door and beat the dog." Li Xiqing's steps were very steady, and his face was very gloomy. However, because of his slightly pale face, he looked more indifferent and sharp. The hunter hurriedly closed the door, and then he heard an order from Li Xiqing. "Keep him alive. As for the rest, you can do whatever you want." The bodyguards did not know how to speak, but when they heard Li Xiqing's order, their eyes all lit up. Chapter 318. In fact, Rong Rui had already woken up when he heard Li Xiqing's first sentence. At this moment, hearing such a direct and perverted order, he suddenly opened his eyes and shouted, "Li Xiqing! My surname is Rong. Rong Haiwei is my uncle, and my grandfather is Rong Jingsheng. If you do anything to me, my uncle and grandfather will not let you go." Li Xiqing heard that, curled his lips and said slowly, "Really? I am just playing with a thief who broke into my family's territory. What does it have to do with them?" Hearing that, Rong Rui panicked. Indeed, Kingstown was the territory of the Li family. After all, Rong Rui was just an outsider. Although the Rong family had a high status in the capital, they were evenly matched with the Li family. And he was the one who offended them first. Was he going to be defeated today? Rong Rui's face turned pale and he shouted uneasily, "Li! Do it!" These two cold words directly excited these bodyguards who had suppressed their emotions for many years. One by one, they moved their muscles and surrounded Rong Rui with a smile on their faces. Cheng Yu was creeped out and shivered on the side. "Go back first and go to work tomorrow afternoon. Have a good rest." Li Xiqing's words were so considerate. Cheng Yu was so moved that she almost cried. She nodded and quickly went out the door. Hunter watched with great interest. He crossed his arms and said, "Boss, do you think these bodyguards like men?" Rong Rui's current situation was completely like a little white rabbit in a wolf's den. His face was full of fear, looking like a little submissive. TSK so poor." Li Xiqing looked at him coldly and responded, "That's true." The hunter was so shocked that he almost fell. "That's true? What? These bodyguards had always liked men? Holy shit, this is way too explosive." The hunter looked at Rong Rui's eyes with even more sympathy. At the same time, there was a strong fear. Fortunately, he didn't completely fail the last time. Otherwise, would the big boss also reward him to this group of hungry and thirsty bodyguards? "Ah!" Rong Rui screamed as he took a solid punch to the face. Then the ropes on his body were untied. Rong Rui struggled with his hands and feet, trying to escape. However, Rong Rui was not tall. He was only 178 centimeters, which was of medium height. In front of the tall and burly bodyguards, there was no way they could fight back. A bodyguard pushed him to the ground and bent his knees to press his waist. Under Rong Rui's frightened and angry eyes, he slapped him directly in the face. Pa, pa, pa. Then, another bodyguard lifted him up, and with a tug, the sound of clothes being torn was heard. Rong Rui was scared and shouted, "Li Xiqing, let's talk." Unmoved, Li Xiqing looked at him coldly. Rong Rui's pants were taken off. Sobbing, he shouted desperately, "Li Xiqing, I am the young master of the Rong family. You can't do this to me. The screams almost broke through the sky. The hunter could not bear to look at it. Crossing his legs, he said, "Boss, are you going too far? This guy is also. Do you want to try?" The hunter immediately shut up and took a step back. Chapter 319. The hunter covered his face and could not bear to watch anymore. 12 strong men and 12 bodyguards. If they all attacked him at once, well, it would be inconvenient. If they took turns, it would be. The hunter sympathized with Rong Rui, but Li Xiqing looked indifferent, as if he did not feel much about what was about to happen. People can't be compared with each other, and men can't be compared with each other either. The gap between him and the big boss was so huge that the hunter felt ashamed of his inferiority. Being lifted up, Rong Rui screamed, "Li Xiqing, you will regret it. Don't touch me there, pervert. Let go." As soon as Rong Rui shouted, the bodyguard really let go of him. With a bang, Rong Rui fell face first on the ground. His nose hit the ground, and a strong smell of blood came out. Then, a bodyguard sat on him, and Rong Rui clearly felt that the man's body was reacting to him. Rong Rui twisted crazily and yelled, No, Li Xiqing. You are so heartless. You will get what you deserve. Are you cursing me? Li Xiqing slightly raised an eyebrow and suddenly chuckled. He glanced at Su Qianxi casually and sat on the sofa behind him. The warm yellow light in the living room shone on him, making him look like a god. His facial features were exquisite, and his temperament was impeccable. Crossing his legs, he looked at Rong Rui and said slowly, Do you want me to let you go? Yes, of course. No one wanted to be humiliated by a man, especially 12 at once. If they really did, Rong Rui would not be able to keep his life. Beg me. Li Xiqing's thin lips parted, and he uttered 2 words. Staring at him, Rong Rui gritted his teeth and did not speak. It depends on whether Mr. Rong is sincere. There was a struggle on Rong Rui's face. Suddenly, the bodyguard sitting on him moved, which scared Rong Rui, and he yelled, I beg you. Li Xiqing raised an eyebrow and looked at him calmly. I beg you, Li Xiqing, let me go. Rong Rui blushed. He looked at Li Xiqing and said, Please let me go. I will never mess with you again. I swear in the name of the Rong family. If I break my promise, I will be struck by lightning. There was a trace of satisfaction in Li Xiqing's calm and indifferent eyes, but he still curled his lips and said, It seems that Mr. Rong does not know what beg means. Rong Rui's expression changed, and he gritted his teeth. Don't go too far. Li Xiqing waved his hand, and the bodyguard behind him moved again. Wait. Rong Rui threw caution to the wind. His lower body was bare. It was definitely not a good thing to be faced by a man like this. Make him go away first. Li Xiqing waved his hand. The bodyguard got up automatically. Rong Rui got up and knelt in front of Li Xiqing. He gritted his teeth and said, Although a man has gold under his knees, he only has one life. Li Xiqing, please let me go. That's not what I want. Rong Rui became angry and rushed up. However, before he reached Li Xiqing, he was stopped by several bodyguards. Rong Rui cursed, Fu *K, Li Xiqing, are you messing with me? Li Xiqing slowly took out his cell phone, waved it in front of him, and then dialed Tang Minjing's number. Chapter 320. Rong Rui struggled hard, but the bodyguards behind him were too strong for him to break free. Gritting his teeth, he cursed, Li Xiqing, you're despicable. Tang Minjing's call was quickly connected. Li Xiqing put the call on speaker and waved his hand. The bodyguards covered Rong Rui's mouth to prevent him from making a sound. Hello. Tang Minjing sounded a bit surprised. Looking at the time, it was already 3 a.m. Why was Li Xiqing calling her at this hour? Brother Xiqing, is that you? It's me. Leaning back on the sofa, Li Xiqing looked at Rong Rui, who was struggling harder and harder, and said slowly, Did my mother tell you? Tang Minjing's heart skipped a beat. Did he know something? Feeling a bit scared, Tang Minjing asked cautiously, What did Auntie say to you? I was injured. I was stabbed when I was beating Rong Rui. Tang Minjing was startled. She really did not know about this. Her first reaction was to ask, Are you okay? Where are you hurt? Is it serious? The series of questions were full of concern. However, her focus was only on Li Xiqing was stabbed, not Rong Rui was beaten. Rong Rui clearly noticed the difference in treatment and felt uncomfortable. He wanted to warn her not to fall into the trap, but the bodyguards behind him firmly held him down and did not let him move at all. Li Xiqing changed his posture, appreciating Rong Rui's state, and replied, It's quite serious. My artery was hurt. This was the truth, but it was not Li Xiqing's style to tell the truth. The hunter knew it well and felt sorry for Tang Minjing and Rong Rui. Although he did not know what Li Xiqing wanted to do, it was definitely not a good thing. Tang Minjing did not doubt him at all and asked anxiously, Then what should we do? Where are you now? 2097 Villa in Jiangzhou. Okay, I'll call an ambulance for you right away. No need. The wound has been treated. You just need to come, Li Xiqing said. Tang Minjing was dazed. Me? Yes, I want to see you. Tang Minjing's heart suddenly raced as she said incredulously, Brother Xiqing. If it's not convenient. Of course, Tang Minjing said hurriedly, but immediately realized that she was being too impatient. Shyly she whispered, I'll be right there. Brother Xiqing, wait for me. Li Xiqing hung up and looked at Rong Rui, who had been quiet. She is coming. What do you think she will choose? The bodyguard loosened Rong Rui's mouth, and the latter immediately screamed. What the hell do you want? What did he mean by tricking Tang Minjing into coming here? Showing off Tang Minjing's love for him? Or was Li Xiqing deliberately showing off his charm, telling him that the woman he liked actually loved him? Thinking of Tang Minjing's joyful words, he felt terrible. She had never been like that to him. Li Xiqing curled his lips and said slowly, You will know in a moment. Looking at Li Xiqing's expression, Rong Rui suddenly thought of one word, danger. This man was deeper than Rong Rui had imagined. He had a bad feeling, but no matter how he guessed, he could not figure out what Li Xiqing wanted to do. Chapter 321. When Tang Minjing arrived, it was already 4 in the morning. As soon as she entered, she heard Rong Rui screaming. Tang Minjing was shocked and walked in. Rong Rui was surrounded by a dozen bodyguards half kneeling on the ground. He was not wearing anything. Quickly looking away, Tang Minjing looked at Li Xiqing. Seeing the blood on Li Xiqing's hand, she asked nervously, "Brother Xiqing, are you okay?" Li Xiqing did not answer but said, "Get a glass of water for Miss Tang." The hunter took the order and put a bottle of water in front of Tang Minjing. "This is the only one. Just drink it." Tang Minjing was a bit dissatisfied with the hunter's perfunctory attitude and looked at Li Xiqing, hoping that he would stand up for her. However, Li Xiqing did not seem to see it and said, "He confessed." Hearing that, both Tang Minjing and Rong Rui were dazed. Confessed? What did he confess? Tang Minjing was a bit nervous and looked away. What do you mean?" "Mr. Rong said that the child in your belly is not mine. He changed the DNA himself and hacked the internal records of the genetics department. So the DNA comparison showed that it is related to my father's." Tang Minjing's expression changed and looked at Rong Rui. Rong Rui's expression also changed. He had never thought that Li Xiqing would ask Tang Minjing to come for this purpose. This was what it meant to fabricate right and wrong, turn black and white upside down, and lie. "You." Before Rong Rui finished, his mouth was covered by the bodyguard. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not get rid of it. In fact, the child in your belly belongs to a foreigner, which is clearly shown in the video he hacked. Your next plan is to find a chance to meet my wife and frame her. Nonsense. Tang Minjing's face turned pale, and she suddenly stood up. How could I do such a thing? Brother Xiqing, I love you sincerely. This child is really your child. Besides, Qinxi and I are good friends. Even if we are not on good terms now, I would not do such a thing. Tang Minjing looked aggrieved. Brother Xiqing, we grew up together. Don't you know me? How could I be such a person? She had no idea how much of their conversation that afternoon had been overheard by him. However, judging from Li Xiqing's current attitude, he should not have heard much. Tang Minjing made up her mind and denied. Even if you don't believe me, you should believe me. Auntie was the one who accompanied me to do the paternity test. No matter what, you should believe in your mother, right? He hacked all the surveillance and data. There's no proof no matter what you say. Gritting her teeth, Tang Minjing looked at him and said, "Why did you do this to me? I know how you feel about me, but you can't do this to me. Don't you know how much this kind of thing hurts a woman?" Rong Rui struggled less and less as he stared at her. "Rong Rui, I have had enough of you." "So, what he did has nothing to do with you?" Li Xiqing asked in a soft voice. "No, but he said he's with you." "Nonsense." Tang Minjing denied and hurriedly said, "Brother Xiqing, I am not that kind of person." "Fine." Li Xiqing looked at her coldly and whispered, "I said, if what he said is true, let him go. If he lied to me, I will reward him to my men and let them enjoy him to their heart's content." In the end, he added, "They all like men, and they are very interested in Rong Rui." Tang Minjing's pupils contracted as she looked at the burly bodyguards behind Rong Rui, shocked. With a complicated look, Rong Rui looked at Tang Minjing and begged for help. "Minjing, I don't want to die. Help me. I will ask you one last time. Is what he said true or false?" In other words, Tang Minjing could decide Rong Rui's fate. If it was true, he would live. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.